Just about 6 o'clock. I'll remind everybody to mute your cell phones or turn them off, please.
Highway and IT.
Okay, time being 6 o'clock, I'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Patty.
Dan,
Here.
Sherry,
Here.
Wanda,
Here.
Don,
Here.
Joe.
Here. This time I'd ask if anybody has a financial or non-financial conflict of interest.
I do not.
No.
No.
None. None. Okay, I'll ask for approval of the agenda.
Approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion in a second, further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, at this time, we'll go to item 4, public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a public comment? Come on. Is yours related to the variance? Do you want to just wait till then? It's up to you. If it's Bob, come on forward. If yours is part of that variance, I'll have public comment during that.
Hey, Bob.
So,
My name is Bob Blake, and what I would like to speak on is you're giving the June 19th day off for your employees. I'd like to start this out with a little story. There's 2 gentlemen working along a railroad track, and a train comes by really slow. A well-dressed gentleman leans out the window and waves to him and calls one man by his name. The other gentleman turned to the guy working with him. How do you know him? Says, him and I started on the radio road together. Says, well, how come he's in the train and you're down here? Says, I went to work for the $1 an hour. He went to work for the company. Now we're talking about, when you do the budget this year, it's gonna be tight in competition for raising wages and stuff like that, because there's a lot of it out there. If you give your employees this one extra day, it might be the one benefit that might keep them working for you another year. I mean, you can't come up with the money to give them great raises, but it's something they may appreciate. So instead of thinking of giving them a day off as an expense, think of it as an investment in keeping your employees here. And I also like to remind you, how much does it cost you to hire a new employee? Thank you.
thanks, Bob. Dan, do you want to wait or? Okay.
Good evening, Lauren Nelson. Hey, just want to say, great to see some of you last night at that 30 by 30 meeting. So thankful that has finally come to Yankton County and has gotten on the radar of people by the packed house that was last night. Just great to see that. Just want to tell the commission to really encourage you. Like she said last night, they will use every tool possible to get at that land. And it's not, and I think last night she was really heavy on CRP and the individual, landowner giving over those rights. But last year I went to a meeting down in Grand Island, these National Heritage Foundation, those National Heritage areas where private entities or foundations funded by, private donors, things like that. But again, they I wouldn't say conspire, but go along with the Department of the Interior, some tourist organizations, and then they use that disguise to come to the county commissioners and say, hey, would you designate your county as a cultural heritage or, something like that. And so it's just another tool. And so I just want to say to to you guys, just to be very aware of what comes before you in regards to federal money and federal programs and even nonprofits to really, because like they said last year, you know, the big print looked great. All this money for tourism, we're gonna get you, you can do this. But when you look down at the fine print, that's where you saw where the government was getting their claws into private landowners. So again, just great to see some of you there last night, and just glad that, you know, 30 by 30 is on the radar here in Yankton County.
Anybody else care to make public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. And item 5. Board of Adjustment, or Board of Equalization, sorry.
I'm
Adjust the Board of
sure you're shocked to see me here to ask this. And I told you I was cautiously optimistic last time, and it paid off. So I was here to request that we move the Board of Equalization from from 10 o'clock on the 29th to noon, if possible. So push it back.
So are you
don't have
saying
any
that
issue
there
with that.
aren't as many as you anticipated?
Yes. Yep. We did have a lot of people come up. We had a lot of phone calls. People were very understanding of what the market is this year. And I think it helped that there was a lot of publications about it. There was a lot in the news, there was a lot in the papers about the market this year. So we were able to talk to a lot of people, but noon would be sufficient for the amount of appeals we have.
If it starts at 1 o'clock, will you give the little refresher course before we start with customers?
Sure. Yeah, if you'd prefer.
I think it's good for the public to hear too.
Okay. So start at noon with a refresher of what the Board of Equalization is, and then start appeals at 1. That would work.
You need the hour?
A motion for the hour?
No,
To talk
from
about-
Oh.
noon to 1.
Um,
Thinking Matt used to take what, 20 minutes?
yeah, I would
15, 20
think
minutes, I
probably
think.
20 minutes would be enough. So if we did like noon and then 12:30 for appeals, that should
Sure.
work.
Are you having Sam?
Yeah, we'll do that at like 11.
Maybe we'll do that. Okay.
Have you talked to the city?
Yes,
I'm sure they
they,
won't mind moving it back.
I haven't talked to them about moving it back yet. I'll contact them tomorrow. I do have the list of who is coming from the city, so
Okay,
they will know who they can
The
contact.
school board rep usually too, is there not?
Yes, yep, I'll contact both the school and the city and let them know.
okay, I don't see an issue with it.
We need a motion, Patty, or-
I don't think
I
so.
think we-
Thank you for your efforts on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, item 6, Bridge Improvement Grant Agreement.
Guess I got the agreement from the state for the replacement of Stone Church Bridge. Just how far in depth you want me to go on this? We were awarded $3,166,800. Plus the rest of the engineering that is left. The state will pick up 80% of that. If you guys have any questions on the agreement itself,
Should probably mention the end date.
construction end date has to be done, completed by February 24th or February 24th of 2026.
So if we run into a flood or something, we have a little leeway.
Which we're hoping next
Will
year.
never happen again.
Hopefully next year we can start on it.
I just appreciate all your efforts on that, and it's huge news for the county that we're getting a replacement bridge. And what was the entire amount? Was that $15 million again this last year? Or had that gone up? I know in the past years it was 15, and for us to get 20% of everything in the state on one project, it just goes to show the great work you guys, well, everybody in the county did to submit that and how important it is and how needed it is in the area. So, thank you.
Entertain a motion.
So I'd move to approve the agreement with the state of South Dakota Department of Transportation for a bridge improvement grant agreement for project number BRF 62130022-1 PCN 08XM.
Second.
Motion by Lowe, second by Fox. To approve the big grant agreement with the state. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
And to go, kind of go along with that one too, I did apply for a Jim River Water Development District grant to help pay for the last of the design engineering. We were awarded $31,250. So just kind of help out, pay for that, so.
Mike,
Next,
the only thing in the contract that I had a concern about was it said if you are, what you aren't done in 4 years it's on our shoulders. That's correct?
right?
Do you have any concerns about being able to get contractors on this project soon enough to get it completed?
I don't believe so. Just by looking at last year's project, I know it's a much smaller project, but last spring we bid let one of the STIP projects for the fall. And I was kind of concerned about that too, trying to get that done in the fall. And they were able to come in and do it, so.
We'll just have to ensure that we, when we bid it too, we have some deadlines and some penalties and whatnot to protect it, so.
Well, and the biggest thing is like, we're trying to get it so we can let it out to bid August, September. So hopefully we can get on next year's schedule, you know,
Mhm.
so.
Thank you.
Next, I have microsurfacing on the agenda. This is kind of a project that it's for the county line south of Irene. We share that the cost on that stretch of asphalt with Clay County. Talking with Rod from Clay County, he would like to microsurface that this year. It's due for some maintenance. I guess we're looking at doing some microsurfacing. Clay County, it's kind of a new process for us. It would be a new process for us, but Clay County, they've been doing it since like 2018, I believe. Instead of doing chip seal, they've been doing microsurfacing, which what that entails is it's Portland cement, 3/8 chip rock, other aggregates, and then some emulsions. They pull this machine, it's not like a paver screed, it's more like a squeegee. They call it the scratch course first, that fills all your lows. And then there's a second course that goes over the top to finish filling. It's cheaper than an overlay, more expensive than a chip seal. I guess last year we did a bunch of paver patching on it. And there's still a few more patches that would need to be done before it would be ready for a microsurface. Just looking at trying to stretch the dollar there again.
Does it hold up pretty well?
So far. The stuff that Clay County did back in 18, I think their first road they did was north-south Wakanda Road off of 46. That looks really nice, rides nice.
I've heard positive comments from people over there that on that process.
In the future, I'd like to actually start trying to do some of this on some of our own roads. For instance, like 448 from Highway 50 to 46. The road's not in terrible shape, but if we were to do a process like this, I believe we could make it ride up to 95% of a brand new road, you know. You're not gonna take out your side-to-side weaves, but your dips, wheel rutting, that kind of stuff, it will fix.
Mike, was this in the 5-year budget or?
No, it's not in the 5-year plan. And I knew that might be a question. Thing about it is I feel I don't want to pass this up this year because everything's just getting more expensive. Right now, the dollar amounts for the total project with asphalt patching is $529,100. Split 2 ways, be $264 for each county. How much is it gonna go up for next year? I don't know.
But it kind of means if we do spend that money, something else is not gonna get done.
Possibly. We just might have to stretch some pennies.
But we did some prepayments of things with last year's money out of the current budget, so we do think it'll be close. But we also do have money banked from ARPA funds, of which I don't believe, the only reason to me that we would have to scratch any project is if we run out of manpower.
Yeah, this year we're biting off pretty hard chunk to fulfill for road work. Then getting back to Sherry's point about the dollars. Last year, at the end of the year, we did have enough money to pay for the 2 bridges for this year. That's not the installation, you know, but that alone right there is approximately 125,000. So we are ahead at that aspect.
There's some grant dollars that'll be coming our way as well. That
East Side
would
Drive,
be extra into his budget. So we kind of sat down and looked at that too, as far as find my notes on that, but as far as the financials and budget wise, I think we're gonna be it'll be tight, but I think we won't have a problem swinging it.
Right. And there's some areas on this road that have deteriorated quicker than what we thought they were going to in some of those areas.
and that's in the, right up there, I have the first mile south of Irene, we would not microsurface, we would do a chip seal on it due to the fact that's, I don't know if you're familiar with that stretch of road, but that's through that swamp. It's rough and tough. Honestly, I say we baby that along as long as we can until we have to mill it up and start all over. It's just swamp on both sides, muskrats, whatever, digging into the roadside and sinkholes and yeah.
That road's been in tough shape for quite a while.
But everything south of the swamp, we'd spend the money on the microsurface.
Do you need a motion to add it to our plan? Or do you just need general consensus to go ahead and do it?
Either way,
Let's do a motion.
Yeah, because as long as you're dealing with money.
Okay, so I would move to add the microsurfacing, the East County line south of Irene to the 5-year county plan to do this summer.
Second.
A motion and a second to microsurface in conjunction with Clay County, the East County line. All those, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
and then last on the list, got surplus items. Got a 2003 Caterpillar 140H motor grader. It's got approximately 12,000 hours on it. Our last motor grader we had to surplus out was also a 2003 with 14,000 hours. It had a new transmission on it, in it. Newer, I should say, not brand new. Anyways, trade-in value, we got offered 56. We ended up selling it at 69. So I felt we did well on that. And then also with next year, right now we're one long, even after selling that one, since our new motor grader showed up in January. So that's another reason to get rid of this, because we did order another motor grader for next January. And then the second piece is 1978 Fiat Alice 14C dozer. We were using it up until it don't steer anymore. And
Got our
parts.
money out of that thing.
We found in the last few years, we had to get some parts for it, and we found some salvage yard down in Georgia. And we're done. She's lived her life.
I'd move to surplus these two items.
Second.
Motion and a second to surplus 2003 Caterpillar 140H and a 1978 Fiat Alice 14C. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, do you want to, I know we don't need a motion on that, just Joe's signature on that aggro. That that you didn't need the minutes for.
Oh, no, we don't need, just Joe's signature
That
on that.
are archaeology services.
Yep, that's for that bridge that we're going to remove in 2024. Just need a signature on that one.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
Jim, come on forward. Item 7.
Hi, Jim.
It's that time of year again.
No weeds, no weeds, no thistles, no mulleins,
That's what I
no
tell the
spurs.
state.
Not this year.
Primary reason I'm here is to get contracts signed for spraying along state right of ways. If anyone has any questions on the contract, I can surely answer them. Kind of in a nutshell, it just says that we'll do everything lawfully and take responsibility for anything we break.
And that's the same as in the past, isn't it?
What's that?
That's the same as in the past. Have you done this? We've done this all.
Every
Yes.
year, yeah. Did we,
It's same, the figures slightly changed. Spraying along the right of ways, it gives us the ability to be able to just go on a state right of way and spray if we see a problem. A good example is last year, we never sprayed once along a state right of way. So, I mean, they're spraying constantly, so it just gives us the ability to get in there if we see something.
I would move to approve the joint powers agreement for weed spraying services by the county.
Second.
Motion by Fox, second by Kettering to approve the state joint powers agreement. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And then just kind of briefly update you where we're at. We did attend the weed conference, the state weed conference in February. It's kind of a good time to get some ideas of what's going on, visit with other weed supervisors across the state. And it's part of our grant process to qualify for grants. Last Friday, I sent out or put in the paper our intent to inspect. And it will go in the paper again this Friday. And basically, it's just a legal notice that I have to put out to give me certain authorities. Chemical for this year, the first part of the year, I've ordered chemical. There's some fluctuation in prices, but I have latitude to work with that by using different chemicals. And it looks like it won't be a really big problem. We'll probably start working and moving over to the weed department. I'm thinking in the first couple weeks of May. It just depends on when things start showing up. In the meantime, we're highway department.
Michael keep you busy.
He does.
When it stays cool and dry, probably be all right for a while.
Any questions at all?
No, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Jim. Okay, item 8. Jeff, come on forward. The Johnson Control contract.
Yes, I just want to know if you had any questions at all. It's pretty self-explanatory. I tried to email everybody and
Mhm.
so you could look at it.
Yep, no, appreciate the heads up on that and your feedback on Johnson Control, so.
Yeah, they do a really good job. Their technician, basically, if I call him, he's on the phone right away to me. If we have any questions on how to shut something down, if he can't get there immediately, he can walk us through it right over the phone. And when obviously we're dealing with boilers and things like that, we have to have that ability to know how to do things properly.
Move approval of the agreement with Johnson Controls.
Second.
Motion in the second to approve the Johnson Control contract. This is a 3-year contract. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Hey, while you're up
Okay.
here, I just want to say thank you for everything you do for the grounds crew. Every time I come here, you're working and the place looks great, so it's
Good,
not going
thank you.
unnoticed. Appreciate it.
Just a side note, today I spent the day with a gentleman from ARS Roofing out of Sioux Falls. We inspected all the roofs in both facilities. And next month I'll be bringing forward a proposal for them to do repairs to the roof so that we can prolong the life of the roof as long as possible.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
Yep,
Thanks,
thank you,
Jeff.
Okay, item 9, funding for Yankton Transit.
Hi, my name's Terry Krishna. I'm with the Yankton Transit. The county over the last few years has been funding us every year with trying to help with our operation costs. And I'm here to ask if you could please continue that funding. We're expanding our services all the time. Of course, right now we're short drivers, but we're working towards that. As far as county rides, they're increasing. We currently have a couple that lives out Riverside Acres that can't get to their medical appointments because of the wheelchair and stuff. So we're it. And we actually have to send a van out instead of a bus because of where they live in the trees and woods. So our service is always growing and stuff. And with these funding, it's also match funding for everything we do, whether it's buses, equipments, payroll, whatever. It's a huge impact. I mean, after listening to road costs, I'm like, not even close to that, but every dollar we get from anybody, whether it's county, city, donation, everything we take. And I'm just asking for you guys to continue that. I think it was $5,000 you guys gave us last year. We're just asking if you continue doing that. And we'll keep pushing forward on supporting the city and the county like we're supposed to. So my speech is short and sweet, but please take us in consideration, but we'll take whatever you.
Could I ask what your total budget is for a year?
About 720,000.
How much is the city chipping in?
32,000.
I'm sorry?
32,000. I believe it's 32. I have double checked, but I think it was like 30 some thousand, 32.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah, we
Terry.
appreciate you coming forward and
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
right on time.
Wow.
In about 30 seconds, I take a motion to go into Board of
Oh,
Adjustment.
wait.
We will be moving to item 10, the Holstein CUP.
We're going to do what with it?
Moving on to it, now at 6:30, we can, I'll take a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second,
Motion in a second, further discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're now in Board of Adjustment. Okay. Holstein CUP. Come on forward.
I just have a list of few of my concerns and suggestions. We did take
Wait,
this up.
one second. Sorry.
Should he go first?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, we'll give an overview and then we'll take public comment on it.
Hi, yeah, I'm Darren Hochstein. Me, a couple of people, my wife, my brother-in-law, and my father-in-law, we all own 101 Gavin's Gulch here in Yankton County. Our goal is to use it as our own cabin vacation home, but then also when we're not using it, put it on like Airbnb and rent it out to some renters. Do that way, short-term rentals as well. Some part of the year when we're not out there. We all live in Yankton County, so we see ourselves using it. Well, one person lives in Tyndall, so not Yankton County, but we all live in the area, plan on using it and gonna rent it out hopefully when we're not there.
If you will, 1 second, sir. Is there any questions for the applicant from the commission?
Do you have any idea how many days a week you would be renting it?
I mean, we haven't put really any stipulations on it yet. I mean, we see it being busy on the weekends. We don't really, it's our first time doing this. None of us are realtors or anything like that. A couple farmers and I work in academics, so we're not quite sure.
Okay.
Honestly. We want to use it ourselves, so we don't want to be booked, obviously, the whole year.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Would you use a property manager or manage it yourself?
We would manage it ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Just decide, yeah.
now with an Airbnb, doesn't somebody have to come in and clean it and make some kind of a rating within a certain time of the time they check out?
We're not going through Airbnb, we're doing Verbo. I don't know if that's different, but we're gonna, yeah, I mean, we're gonna stop. If somebody stays there, we'll come and clean the house afterwards and make sure it's in good shape, obviously for ourselves, or if anybody else is coming. And I think people who stay there can rate it. I've used Airbnb myself and you have the opportunity to rate it afterwards. But I mean, I don't think we do. I think we would be responsible for the cleaning, obviously. It's our property.
What service did you say you're gonna use instead of Airbnb?
Verbo.
Verbo.
Yeah. Decided just to pick one instead of, I mean, like I said, this is not something that it's our jobs. We didn't want to be managing multiple things, if at all, trying to make it lower, maintenance for us. It's not our goal to become real estate agents or property managers or anything.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, with that, I will open it up to public comment.
Okay, I'm Jessica Flynn. I live at 204. I've lived there for 13 years. I'm just gonna request that your said proposal be denied based on the covenants and restrictions set forth and agreed upon by notified parties. I do have a list of my personal concerns as well as others, but based on number 11 and 14 of our covenants, and also number 3, which says that you agree that this shall not be used. For 11 says no industry or business or trade, no design for profit, and must be only occupied. 14 says no business activity of any kind on any lot. I'm concerned with opening the door to this. I'll go back and start with number 6. No parking on the edge of subdivision. I live in this division.
Slow down, speed racer.
Sorry, my PTSD kicks in when I'm like no.
No, it's okay. I
Um,
just don't hear as fast as you talk.
It's at the end of the subdivision and there is no outlet and only way in and out. Thus, to this far, we do not have, but are open to a homeowners association for maintenance and road things, but there is actually no available parking at the end of the road. And if lot 12 on Gavin's Gulch is also interested in opening this up to this kind of endeavor, there is a limited access road. There is only one way in and out, and our covenants do state in number 3 that they are enforceable by law and or other property owners for loss of enjoyment or other violations. And I'll go through what I believe are the potential violations. However, only 11 and 14 are said violations in the request. 6 is the parking. 9 is quiet hours from 11 PM to 7 AM. If you do not live in the Gulch, you do not realize that it echoes like a stadium. I can hear Levon and Fred from calling their horses from all the way up the road. 11 says no industry, business, or trade. 14 says no business or activity of any kind on the lot. 18 of our covenant says exterior lighting and intensity cannot disrupt their residents or adjacent lots. I have other residents that are not in on our covenants that do live on adjacent lots, which exterior lighting and effective security will affect. We've had security issues in the Gulch because it is primary residence, and a lot of them, it is their secondary residence. 21 says no temporary structures, campers, or tents. There's also no parking down there. Again, I'll reiterate that. 23 says no open burning. We have fire concerns because as I was briefly on fire and rescue, the lakeside would know that there are no fire hydrants out there. It is at least 5 miles to the nearest hydrant or availability to water, which is the Lake Station Area Fire Hydrant or Fire Department. And they do not have access to hook up to BY water as their lines are not big enough. They do have a pumper truck. However, open fire burning and everything would be hard to enforce in a rental area. Now, the park does close at 11 PM, but that does not stop our quiet hours in our covenants, that people that can still come and go through there.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second. I failed to mention, typically public comment, we do a 3 minutes
Okay,
and you're there, but I want you to just
I'll make it
take
quick
some
then.
time and wrap up, please. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. According to number 3, these are enforceable by law or other property owners for loss of enjoyment or any other said violations. I do have a petition. I've started in effect, but on short term was today. I don't know if is there a percentage of requirement of the neighborhood to sign for an injunction to be filed?
I think that would be in your covenant.
There is not a percentage. We all agreed on number 3. Okay. And furthermore, this is not a notification of civil action. It's only trying to retain our rights as a resource as listed in number 3. We're not trying to be hard on anyone or the concerns. It's just that this is our small neighborhood and we're not trying to open it up to an Okoboji thing or somebody starting a fire or anything. Most of us moved here to retire, and the lake does have its own assets that I understand you can't enforce covenants. And our only recourse is probably begin civil action. This isn't pointing towards civil action. It's only retaining our right and standing up and saying, and I do have a petition of several signed neighbors saying that we do not wish this course of action to be taken in the neighborhood. And it's just politely asking them to cease and desist. We don't want this. But that's it.
Okay.
If there's any questions or anything I've missed.
You said you had a copy of the homeowners agreement?
Yes, I do. This is a very horrible copy, as I was very delayed at the library today in an attempt to make it, but I have, this is even tracked 1.
Perhaps Patty
Yeah,
can make us each a copy.
Just provide us with a copy, I think.
Patty's right there.
What is your last name?
Flynn, Flynn.
And Jessica.
Yes. This is the I this is the copy that was agreed upon in 1996 that everyone has signed that has brought copy of the state. Can you hear me? I do have a copy as well, or just a rough draft of today's signatures from the local neighborhood people who object to using this rental, if that's needed.
I don't think we'll need. We shouldn't do that, but
We're not actually filing anything. We're just
Mike,
saying we're retaining rights.
Gary, am I correct that at the planning and zoning meeting, you probably weren't there, Bill was there, but there wasn't a copy of this available? Is that correct?
I don't believe so. So yeah, we'd make a copy to you. I'll find out.
of the HOA, you mean?
Well, there actually is no homeowners association set up. It is
Or
actually
I
covenants,
guess,
but
covenants.
we all have agreed in signing the covenants to a homeowners association. Should one be formed for road maintenance or enforcement of any of these,
Sure,
everyone who has bought property has agreed to,
they've signed the
homeowners
covenant or
association.
have, there's a covenant on the.
right?
Yeah.
But there is actually not a formed homeless, it's kind of an honor system at the point. Huh? No, it's an honor system at the point and you just pay for the roads and you know, kind of just get along. Kind of. And that's not to say the later date that it's not being considered for that. It's just not.
Well, yeah, I can start without Patty. So with that, Patty will make copies and get them to us with that. And would anybody else care to make public comment on this application? Come forward and state your name, please.
My name is Laura Baker. I live at 548 Rolling Hills Drive, which is directly across the road from Gavin's Gulch. I've lived there for 32 years. And I would just reiterate most of what Jessica has said. I'm not sure what most people realize about living out at the lake. Most of us move to the country to create a way of life. And I'm not sure where you all live, whether you live in town or out in the country. If you just imagine someone moving in next door and creating a vacation rental.
We all live in the country, for your information.
Okay, so imagine this.
Joe doesn't.
Someone buys a house next door and they want to turn it into a vacation rental. And just imagine your utter disappointment in that, probably. I don't know, that's mine. It's happened once already on Rolling Hills Drive. And the amount of traffic and unknown vehicles that it brings to your neighborhood. I've had 2 break-ins in my house, and whether it has anything to do with the vacation rental, I'm not sure. But when you know your neighborhood and you know who belongs there and unknown vehicles that, you know, people in your neighborhood kind of look out for you. They know who belongs there and who doesn't. When you hit the Gavin's Gulch area, which is directly across the road from me, we're on a private road. And so there aren't a lot of extra vehicles that drive back in there because it's a no outlet road and the county doesn't maintain our road. And so, you know, we have looky-loos, we call them, who kind of get to our area and then they turn around and drive back out. It happens a lot on the weekends, particularly in the summer. People just come from the park and they kind of drive back in there and then they realize, oh, there's nowhere to go beyond here. And so then they turn around and drive back out. But when you get a vacation rental, for example, you get extra cars back in there going maybe to a rental or what, you don't know, because you don't know who might be going to this rental, or they might be going further, but if you don't know where they're going, you know, you don't really know what to watch for, who to look out for.
About 15
So
seconds.
I have, excuse me, that's
About
my 3
15
minutes.
seconds. You've got 10, 15 seconds.
Oh, okay. So
Just give me
anyway,
heads up.
that's a real concern for me because our house has already fallen victim to break-ins. And yes, we could put in a ring or whatever, but we watched lots of videos where people take their ring footage to the police department and people still don't get arrested, even when you have the video footage to back up what you've got. So anyway, those are concerns that we have for our area. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else care to make public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. I'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
So this is 707 conditional uses. Which conditional use are we under? We've got bed and breakfast, campgrounds. And then we can have an unlisted use.
Yeah, it's been, generally, they've been done as
Unlisted uses.
That was one comment that I guess I have is we've approved these under unlisted uses in the past, but we don't have a means of denying, to my knowledge, somebody from doing this. We may not bless it, but I don't know that we can. If you go on Airbnb or VRBO, there's 50 of them out in Yankton County.
That are operating without.
Right. But
Under that question, if it's out of your jurisdiction, it's still under civil recourse. We still retain our rights according to the covenants because it was in
Yes.
fact within the deed. So
Yeah.
we retain our rights to a civil suit should the, even if you accept the permit, correct?
correct.
Now, I didn't catch that. Are these covenants, are they filed of record?
Yes, they are. They're in fact with the deed. Number 3, under our covenants, state that you agree to not only homeowner association, but you agree to legal action as well as civil action by any resident that could be affected by harmonious use. Enjoyable use, I'm sorry, of their property or disturbance of those things. That's on number 3. And this is in fact with the deed, so it is enforceable by civil action if need be necessary or litigation.
And where was it filed?
Yankton County in 1996 by John Harper, 14th of March, I believe. I'm sorry. I don't want to speak incorrectly here.
On page 3.
Number 3.
Don.
I saw that.
Okay.
Don't want to get this wrong.
I guess my concern is when it was before the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was no, couldn't be found.
You mean before zoning?
Pardon?
You said before zoning, sir?
Before the meeting happened, this covenants wasn't presented.
At our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, this document was not available and nobody knew how to get one.
We've been struggling a little bit. I ranch and also a couple other people in the neighborhood are not permanent residents.
The problem with that is if it was filed of record, then you have constructive notice.
It is, I'm not sure what constructive notice means, but I do know that it was filed with the deed and these were the covenants with buying in place.
I might just interject. I know what you're saying and that you want to be on, on record. But just for the board, we typically don't take covenants, and we can't govern on a covenant.
Cannot
of
enforce them,
private.
correct?
Right,
Correct.
No,
I
but-
understand that.
so,
They have other remedies.
right.
Yes. I'm just standing here to say that we're not gonna roll over and say that we're not retaining our right. We are actually speaking up
Yeah.
as a neighborhood, and I do have a petition as our right to retain the right to covenants, the number
Enforce
3 in the
your
covenants, to
covenants.
pursue
Yep.
this in civil suit if it must be that it comes to it.
Yep.
Which one, we want to be a friendly neighborhood, but we're not saying, oh, we're ignoring this. No, we're not. We're standing up and saying, we are absolutely saying this is
Yep.
here. That's just retaining our right to.
And that's understood. I just more for the board if we have other questions that don't pertain to the covenants, because we don't have much say in it.
Correct. That's my understanding that someone can't enforce covenants. It is either
It's a civil matter.
litigation or civil suit according to my attorneys.
Watch your findings.
Yeah, so we'll, come forward, sir.
I'm the father-in-law of the two guys, so my wife and daughters have wanted to do this cabin thing forever, so that's how we got involved in it. We started out as a family thing. The realtor that sold it to us, the guy that owned it before us rented it out forever, so it's already been a rental somewhat. Our options of doing this, we put it on this verbal thing, we put very strict restrictions on who gets rented, who rents it. There's no stag parties, there's no wild parties, it's just family operated, family people coming to stay there for the weekend that have something going on in town, whatever. So we're not out there to destroy the community. We went out there, we remodeled the thing, made it look better outside, inside. So we're trying to be part of the community and to make it look better, to be a nice community, quiet community. That's what we like. That's why we bought the place. When we stay there, we want it to be quiet and plant trees around the thing. We remodeled the inside, the outside to make it look nice. So I guess that's our opinion and that's why we did it.
Majority of our beds are children's bunk beds.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The majority of our beds we put in are children's bunk beds. We're marketing towards families.
We're not looking to make rowdy things and we have the quiet time set up on everything. It's the list that's there, so they have to be quiet. They can't be causing any trouble out there or anything like that. We have told them there's no open burning or anything like that. We have our rules lined up that they have to agree to before they can stay there. So that's all I want to say.
What's your name,
Thank
sir?
Gary Dickus.
Gary Dickus?
Okay, I'm gonna step through the planning and zoning findings quickly. So 1723 and 1729 of application fee, yes. The applicant is requesting conditional use permit to his cabin as a vacation rental moderate density per Article 7, Section 709. E911 address is 101 Gavin's Gulch Road, Yankton, South Dakota. Publishings went out. The public hearing was attended. The planning commission recommendation is to grant with conditions, proper screening on the southwest lot line between the properties and parking for no more than 5 cars and pickups. I presume that's in the rules that there's only so many vehicles allowed on the premises. Is that what that's in reference to?
Yes, we're gonna have like proper, like, so we display where they park, we're gonna have.
Okay.
They park only on our property.
Ingress egress exists, an existing structure. Parking exists for 5 cars or pickups. Refuge service is available. Utilities are present. Screening exists. This says no signs are required. There's a designated parking area required, no others required. And general compatibility, the findings is that it's in general compatibility with adjacent properties. Those are the findings from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Is there any more discussion for the board?
How many beds and baths is it? Best guess?
Three sets of bunk beds, 3 queens, 3 sets of bunk beds. It's modeled around us, we have 3 families, kids, so.
There's not enough parking for 5 vehicles.
I'm sorry?
There's not enough parking for 5 vehicles.
Is there any
Well,
more questions or discussion?
I'm curious about 5 cars because at the end of page 1, it says that there's parking for at least 10 cars.
In the packet?
Yeah.
If you read the motion that was made, it was amended to 5 in the minutes.
I'm just curious because she's saying there's not even enough parking for 5. I'm sorry.
There's a small cement attic, have 3 on it. We park behind people, we're well within our property.
I would move to approve the CUP for Hochstein, sorry,
Based on findings of fact.
based on findings of fact of the Planning Commission.
I'm sorry, based on what?
Findings of fact from the Planning Commission.
Motion for approval of the Holstein CUP. Is there a second? I will second it.
Okay, go ahead.
And we'll go to further discussion.
There's a very touchy thing out there. Would there be a possibility that 1-year trial run could be done? And if there are no complaints, then it could be extended.
I don't know how we do that, but Gary, I want to, if we throw the covenants aside and this is denied right now, and they were to move forward with the VRBO, would the county or would there be any repercussions to your knowledge? Covenants aside, if the county were to deny this application tonight, would there be any repercussions if they move forward with the VRBO?
I guess that's more of a legal question. I don't know if,
The reason I'm asking is because it's
not that I'm
it's
aware
what-
of.
how we're approving this is essentially because it's like a bed and breakfast under 709.
Right.
And we've done that with several in the past, and many of the applicants that have come forward have recognized that they likely did not need to come forward, but they wanted to kind of secure that for future. Because we don't regulate rentals in the county. And I guess what I'm getting at is if this is denied, in my opinion, they can move forward with it. If it's approved, they at least are limited to
What's in the
5 cars
findings?
and planting some trees.
Well, the only law case that I'm aware of that was passed on to the state's attorney's office and they said that that wasn't an issue that was a different issue than what you're talking about right now.
Because I don't know that we regulate rentals. And we have many vacation rentals in this county that don't have CUPs and operate seemingly legally, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the definition of bed and breakfast, it doesn't actually. We talked about, this is on our short or long list of
Corrections.
what are we going to do? Because it's not a bed and breakfast.
Right. These
Under-
vacation
under-
rentals didn't exist when the ordinance was written, and so it needs to be addressed at some
Correct.
point. But
Correct.
I guess what I'm getting at is, in my opinion, no matter how we end up here, they can likely move forward, and it's going to be an issue between enforcement of a covenant is what it'll boil down to.
Which is the same thing if you'd approve it also.
Right,
It could
that's what I'm
still
saying is
become a civil matter.
I don't see it either way affecting things other than if it's approved, there's at least some conditions to that.
Right.
So Gary, are you saying that we can't do it for a year just to make sure everything goes fine?
I don't know how we would do that with a CUP. I'm not aware of any legal way to do that.
I don't know.
I guess of the two choices, have a CUP and have some regulation versus have them leave tonight fussy and do it anyway. I guess I'd rather have some regulation, but who's going to enforce that? I mean, according to the covenants, it would fall back upon the neighbors, is the way I read their covenants.
It would. The only thing we would have is if the screening and
park six
bordering
cars.
They
wasn't
didn't meet
wasn't
the
done, we could revoke their
conditions.
CUP if they violated conditions of it.
Correct.
That's-
True, but if, let's say, they, for some reason, decide that rather than being at their vacation cabin on the 4th of July week, they're going to rent it out to people and people are just horrible people, then the neighbors can come and seek legal remedies based on their covenants.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be the
Correct.
recourse.
So I guess I live at the lake and I'm not a big fan of, other people. So I would rather, yes, I would rather have some regulation versus no regulation.
So if there's any more discussion, if not, I would call for roll call vote, please.
Sherry,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Motion passes. As far as for the CUP,
Yeah.
if they're gonna.
Gary can get them one, can't they?
It'll be in the minutes, but essentially it's gonna be the five cars and then the southwest border screening is what. It's really,
Five cars only apply when it's being rented out, correct? Like we're there with a family with 6 cars, that we're not using it inside the CP at that point, we're using it for.
I would say that's fair. I would say that's fair. So,
So it'd be nice not for everybody not to drive it separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 12 people staying with our family, we won't bring 12 cars.
I got 7 kids and 19 grandkids, so. hopefully they don't-
You'll need a bus.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to item 11, the Morris CUP. Is the applicant in the audience?
Sorry.
I was asking if the applicant is in the audience. Yep, thank you. Okay. Do you mind reading their?
Applicants requesting a conditional use permit to construct a self-storage facility in a lakeside commercial district per Article 11, Section 1107. Said property is legally described as a replat of lots 6 and 8, Whitetail Run in the southeast of the northeast of Section 16, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota, hereafter to be known as Lot 12, Whitetail Run in the southeast of the northeast quarter of Section 16, Township 93 North, Range 56 west of the 5th Principal Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota. E911 address is 605 Deer Boulevard, Yankton, South Dakota. As you see in the drawing, there's already 2 existing self-storage units there. This will fill up the lot, basically.
Is this
Thank
the
you.
really big ones? Don't they already have 3 out there?
You're thinking of the north side of the road?
Uh-huh. No, I'm thinking of the south side of the
Oh,
road.
okay. These, because these are on the south side.
Yeah.
I think
Pretty
there's
sure
only
there's
2 out
already
there
3.
too.
There's a
I don't know.
Is that
picture
a
on
cur-
page
is that a current
13.
map? Okay. No, that's fine.
Okay. That I'm gonna open up to public comment. Would anybody in the audience care to speak on this application? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. I'll go through the findings from the planning and zoning. So as Gary stated, applicants requesting self-storage facility on an existing property. Publishings were mailed. They attended the public hearing. The recommendation was to grant the conditional use. Ingress egress exists, no parking required, refuge service is present, utilities are present, no screening and buffering is required. Lighting will match existing buildings, setbacks are met, and it is in general compatibility with adjacent properties. Any more discussion from the board? Not, I would entertain a mo- oh, go ahead.
I'd move approval of the CUP.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval. Further discussion? Roll call vote, please, Patty.
Don,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Joe.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, next, item 12, Huber variance. I think Stewie's here.
Another no-show.
Okay. You want to read it in and then we'll get started.
Applicants requesting a variance to minimum lot size in an egg district per Article 18, Section 1807 and Article 19, Section 1907. Said property is legally described as tracts 1 and 2 of Lot A in the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 96 North, Range 55 West of the 5th Principal Prime Meridian, Yankton County, South Dakota, containing 128.447 square feet, 2.95 acres more or less. E911 address is 44398 South Dakota Highway 46, Irene, South Dakota.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to open this up for public comment. Would anybody care to speak on this variance request? Come on forward, Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Lieber. I just got a couple questions. First of all, who applied for it? Because I'm the one paying the taxes. You guys are all sending me stuff. When the state's doing 46, they have to deal with me. You guys are letting Stuart do everything. And he just wants to take the house back so he can have some camp. That's all he's after.
He's after what?
Well,
Nope,
I made a
I'm
good,
just,
I
I'm
made a good
old.
business out of this.
Yeah, pull the microphone up a little.
I made a good business out of this. 46 is coming through. I already have 35 campers lined up. It's an extra 100 and some thousand a year for me. Well, we all know Stuart, if somebody else makes money, he wants a piece of it. So he's doing this so he can get a part of it. Because one part of where you guys are drawing the line across is taking part of the campground. And then somebody told me I signed an easement for the driveway, the new driveway. I didn't sign no easement. And you need another easement in there because the sewer from the house goes through the property that the bar is gonna own now. And no one's asked me nothing about this. I've called Bill, your planning and zoning guy, don't get a straight answer. Talk to your planning and zoning people on your board. He's got rights. I don't know, there's a contract enforced. The contract's been enforced for 3 years. And you guys are letting him do whatever he wants. My name's not on no application. None. But you guys expect me to pay all the taxes on everything. I have to keep everything up for Stuart. Why are the taxes sent to me if I have no rights? Why does the state deal with me and not Stuart? Whose property is it? Because when I see it, it's mine. So I just want some answers to why. I don't want nothing rezoned. I don't want the house broken away from the property. Because it's stupid. You're actually depreciating the value of the property. I didn't sign an easement. So if I don't sign the easement, because the bar property is going to stay mine. There's no driveway to the house then, and the state won't allow one to come off 46. That's an absolute no. They already said that. So I don't get why he gets to do this.
This is currently under contract for deed.
Yes.
correct?
Has been for 3 years. The house was sold once.
So you're saying that the part of the application that says that Highway 40 or the state is developing Highway 46 and removing.
State
it-
is developing Highway 46. They are.
I
removing
get
the
to
driveway.
finish
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Is removing a driveway for the resident and the state is installing a new driveway from Washtown Road. Is that true?
The state's installing an approach for me and the colony. I'm installing the driveway. And there is an existing driveway going to the house. There's a shared driveway. The only thing the state has taken away is if you know the corner, everybody knows what Mayfield is. There's a driveway that comes off 46. And there's a-
Valley, can you put it up on the screen?
It's on page 3 of your packet is a.
I've
the
got,
beacon.
I've
Oh,
got
okay.
it. I thought maybe somebody else might like to see it as well.
Gotcha.
Beacon
Beacon's
shows
fine.
it.
Beacon will show the existing. If you type in Lieber, or do we have search on that one?
Got an address.
44398. South Dakota Highway 46. So I was gonna say too, Dan's name is on the title or the plat.
Okay, the driveway that's getting taken away. Well, no, okay. Can you go down a little bit?
What do you want zoomed out?
Yeah. The driveway that's getting taken away is that, right there. That's the driveway getting taken away. Now, if you look at where, 444. There's already a driveway for the house. See it? There's already a driveway there. But I wanted a different driveway. The state approved an approach for the colony, and me and the colony get along really well, so we're gonna share a 40-foot approach up in the northeast corner of the property. So the driveway's gonna come from there over to the house, and we're gonna revamp the garage, so it's a 2-car set, a single stall. That's all that's about. That has nothing to do with the state requiring it, because I have a driveway. It's a shared driveway. Now, if you put the line through that, if you look really close, the campsites are right under the blue writing. All the campsites sit there. 3 of them sit over this side, where you drew the line through. Yeah, he'd take 3 of them. He takes most of them. I know, if you guys are gonna do it, you're gonna do it. But my thing is, why wasn't my name on any application? Why is he allowed to do this? If you sell it, it's gone. You don't get to keep redoing stuff. A contract's basically him being the mortgage company. That's all it is. Your mortgage company can't come and replot your land, can they?
Dan Clinch, will you click on that?
Want the report?
Well, right there, owner.
They're both listed. Yeah.
Both as listed as owners.
Deb.
That's all I want to say. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, is there any other public comment to make at this time? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. I'll bring it back to the board and likely Deb, it looks like. What?
I'll be honest, I'm kind of confused as well. If they're both listed as owners, but the application is owned by only one.
Right. And I think there's a clear
Problem.
problem here.
Right, and so I don't know if this was brought up, it doesn't look like it was brought up at the planning commission. Correct, were you at the?
Well, we did contact Rob though.
Okay.
And he was aware of it, and the issue is that they both signed the plat, the application might not have both names, but they both signed the plat, so that's what the variance is for lot size variance for that plat.
That's
Basically,
item
we were
13.
told, well, that's a civil matter at that point. We don't know why it was signed, but as you said, I was like.
I'm sorry, you come up to the microphone, please, for our at-home viewers.
Because when I signed that, I asked Kevin specifically, because Stuart's in Texas, am I signing for that variance? He said, no, I was signing to get my new driveway over on the edge. So I was just lied to. Plain and simple.
So Gary, you're saying plats aren't.
Correct, because that's on the agenda also.
So would both become equal owners of each tract then?
Well, I don't think you can divide property that way.
That's.
Gary, can I see a picture?
Maybe a continuance or something would be in order till we can get this figured out.
Oh, give me the really nice one.
It probably is, but we still,
I'll see- I wanna
because the
see- yeah, I
plat's on
wanna
the
see the
agenda for item
Then
13
then
too.
we can continue that too. I mean, we can't do a plat without the variance first.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, so they want to make it long and skinny. And this is the bar, the white. And this is Mr. Lever's. Well, what portion does Mr. Lever have where he has his? What? Has the plat been filed and approved?
That's on item 13 for tonight.
Oh, so it hasn't been approved. Where's, didn't you talk about some campers? Okay, so everything above that is yours? Is,
No, it'll,
All of it's mine right now. But what's screw us is cut it right here. Right through here, so he's gonna take all this. And these are all different campers. For the.
Yeah, got it.
So
Okay.
this is the driveway they're taking away. What they're gonna do is they're gonna cut it right here.
Then
They're
I
just taking this one away because it's too close to the steps.
Okay,
I'm putting one here to around here.
okay.
That's what I thought we were at.
Is that,
Right
is
now-
that where you live? In the brown house? Okay.
Yeah, because that was all sold at one time to me. But now he's saying the house that sold, he wants to resell that. to the other.
I think we need to go on to number 13.
And then
Oh, I got it.
We need a motion to continue.
yeah, I think we need a motion to continue this at a
I
later
move to,
date.
I move to continue the approval or the consideration of the variance based on the fact that there's obviously an issue.
To be determined.
Second.
I think
Month. Next meeting.
if we look at the next meeting's April 19th, then I probably would go to the fall, to the May 3rd meeting.
May 3rd.
Okay. Well, motion, is that okay for, as part of your motion, Wanda, to May 3rd, continue to May 3rd?
That would be great.
Okay. So we
May
have
3rd would be lovely.
a motion to continue to the May 3rd meeting. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So we need to get some homework done before the May 3rd meeting. Okay. That I'd entertain a motion to come out of regular session.
Move to come out
Second
to regular session.
of adjustment.
Out of Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Motion by Don, second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Could we take a break?
Yep, I'm gonna,
Do you want to table 13 first?
and then, yep, I'm gonna table 13 as well to the May 3rd meeting.
We need a motion to continue that,
So moved. To table item 13
or continue it to
for
May.
continuant to the May meeting with the variance.
Motion by
second.
Dan, second by
Wouldn't we
Lowe's.
want to do the plat, consider the plat before the variance?
No, we have to. it
We
has to be
can't
variance.
create a non-conforming lot without the variance. It's like chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion for
Motion.
5-minute break.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, now we're on to what?
Yes, I got a nice pen.
Yankton Thrive.
Entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
So move second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 14, presentation by Yankton Drive. Ms. Bonandy.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come in today. It is my pleasure to share with you a lot of what we've been doing with Yankton Thrive. When I was asked to come speak, there were 5 questions that you essentially wanted me to address in this presentation. What does Yankton Thrive do? How do we benefit the citizens of Yankton County? How are the funds, how have they been utilized? Are there upcoming requests? And how will those funds be used from the 2022 budget? So as far as who Thrive is, it was exciting for us as an economic development group of YAPG to merge with the Yankton Area Chamber of Commerce. We did that in July of 2021. And so for the last essentially 8 months, we have been operating as a joint organization. So you can see there, we have some key divisions that we work within: workforce development, tourism, business services, and economic development. We also have a director of finance as well. So you can see we have 8 staff currently at Yankton Thrive, which is down from 11 when we were separate organizations. Each of our divisions has a separate budget, but we do have some shared expenses that come out of all of the budgets. The county and your support that we have received through the capital campaign goes to support workforce development and economic development. We have a very strong board of directors. We have 25 positions within our board of directors, and we were very strategic when we wrote our bylaws to make sure we had strong representation from our membership that represented our community well. We have fundamental directors. Those are the people that are appointed to our board by their designated organizations. Don Kettering is your representative of Yankton County on our board. We want to thank Don for being an active board member. He and I have a lot of conversations. He participates in almost all of the meetings that we host. And because he also is Yankton's representative, or a representative from Yankton, on the Governor's Office of Economic Development's Ready Board, that also is another opportunity for Yankton to be hearing firsthand what's happening around the state, so we're maybe able to react or be involved in other projects. Don really is a good representation of what we're doing here for economic development in Yankton. And like I said, there's a lot of diversity. So we have our foundational members. Those represent entities with 50 or fewer full-time employees. So essentially the smaller businesses have guaranteed seats on our board. We have our cornerstone directors, and those entities need to be either one of our top 10 investors in the previous capital campaign, or one of our top 10 membership paying or dues paying members. And then we also have an at-large category with 4 spots in there. They could maybe qualify under one of the other categories or maybe not. Jeff Van Meteren with the state of South Dakota is one of those that doesn't fall into one of the other categories. So it's great to have at-large as an opportunity for him to serve on our board. So the mission of Yankton Thrive is to provide leadership in fostering efficient growth of the Yankton area economy. So I want to break that down just a little bit for you. What does it mean to provide leadership? It's really about collaboration and connection and helping the community see the bigger picture when it comes to economic development. Fostering efficient growth. There's a lot of growth happening in Yankton. And with that communication and collaboration, hopefully our housing development, our workforce development efforts, small business collaboration, and even our larger business expansions can be more efficient through the works of Yankton Thrive. And then defining the Yankton area economy. It's not just businesses, it's tourism, it's agriculture, healthcare, education, all of those components come together to make a strong economy. And really all the work we do revolves around finding solutions, communicating, all of us working together. Because Yankton Thrive is here to serve the community. We do not personally benefit from any of this. It is all about how we can benefit our community. So we at Yankton Thrive want to make the big things happen in this community, and we can only do that through support in our capital campaigns. And while Thrive has a variety of funding sources, our capital campaigns really are the economic driver of the big projects. Talking about some of the other funding sources quickly, we do have membership dues. We have over 500 members of our organization. We also have funding that we receive from the city of Yankton, and that is specifically for the areas of economic development and tourism. Tourism also receives money from the bid tax, as well as, like I mentioned before, the capital campaign. So it's a variety of sources. And if you remember when I talked about our separate budgets, some of those funding sources designated to those areas. But in the capital campaign, every time we start a campaign, we really try and target what our goals are for that campaign. So in Yes 3, which you participated in at a level of $250,000 and are continuing to pay off that pledge, it really was about people, place, and jobs. Bringing people to Yankton, having a variety of well-paying jobs, and supporting our quality of place through projects like the Mount Marty Fieldhouse, the Huther Family Aquatics Center, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. In the Yes 4 campaign, we're still really focusing on 2 areas instead of 3, and that is talent attraction and housing. We cannot continue to grow our economy without more people in Yankton. The jobs are there for us to do that. And so we need to continue to find ways to bring more people to Yankton. And then housing. No secret, there's a housing shortage. We need more of it, and I will touch on that just a little bit later. You can see our last campaign was 2.8 million that we raised. I believe the goal was 2.5, and our goal for this campaign is 3.2 million. So we will be asking for Yankton County to continue paying their pledge of $250,000 from the Yes 3 campaign, as well as discuss with us what does it look like for you to participate in the Yes 4 campaign. It's incredibly important for large industries and the people who drive the economy to participate in making this happen, in making the big things happen here in Yankton. And these campaigns really do benefit all of Yankton County. It helps spreads the cost when we bring more people in of the expenses. It helps restaurants and retail because we have more people shopping and participating and buying homes in our community or utilizing rentals. What we do with these campaign dollars really benefits all. So I'm now going to touch on some areas of our strategic plan. In late fall, early winter of 2021, we came together as a board to do a strategic plan because there's a lot of things to get done in Yankton and we truly cannot do them all. We all know there's not enough time and there's certainly not enough money. So we needed to be very strategic and set some goals for each of our 4 divisions on what we're going to try to accomplish. You know, in our business growth sector, we really focus on primary jobs. That's what's going to make a difference. We need to grow those jobs. That's what's going to help our community continue to grow. You'll notice on that list, we also have talked about housing. So those numbers and statistics that are up there were provided both by the city of Yankton and Yankton County. We have a lot of development happening. There is no shortage of growth, but we still need more housing. So in front of you, I did provide a 1-page synopsis of the 176-page document of the housing study. We completed the housing study in March, of 2022, or excuse me, February of 2022, that really helped us prove that we need more housing. We don't need to prove it to ourselves, but when we go to the legislature to try and access some of the $200 million that's available, they are requiring that you have a housing study completed. So we were ahead of the curve on that. We planned and anticipated it. So we have our housing study done and ready to go. And the numbers, somewhat staggering. We need, and these are conservative, I will tell you. We need a lot of development at all different price points for rentals and for homes for purchase. The company that did the housing study and their director, Scott Knudsen, will be presenting his findings at the city commission meeting on April 25th. So I encourage you to either watch that commission meeting or attend in person so you can hear from him directly if you have concerns about the metrics that they used, how they analyzed it, how they came up with these numbers. It's just really going to be good information. If you are interested in reading the housing study, and I'm going to tell you, it's long, but it's fascinating. It's on Yankton Thrive's website, which is yanktonsd.com. You can access it in two different ways. On the home page under Life in Yankton, you'll be able to see there's a tab you can click on for the housing study. Or if you've already clicked into the economic development tab, there's another option for surveys and studies, and it's listed under there. And if you have any trouble finding it, you can always contact me and we can send you a link to it as well. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the infrastructure dollars available through the state legislature. I want to thank the legislature and their partnership with Governor Nome to make that happen. The $200 million housing bill is not at all what any of us thought it would look like, but it got passed. It is now going to be available through South Dakota Housing and Redevelopment in the form of grants and loans. Communities underneath a population of 50,000 will be able to access 70% of that money. 30% of that 200 million will be for communities over 50,000, which is no secret, that's Sioux Falls and Rapid. If you are a community of less than 50,000, your project could access both grants and loans. But if you are Sioux Falls or Rapid, their projects get one or the other. So South Dakota Housing is a great entity to work with, and we're looking forward to try and access some of those dollars here in Yankton. So if you have a housing project that you're considering, you do not need to apply through us. Applications are not open yet. Let me be clear with that. But you don't need to apply through us. You can do that directly through South Dakota Housing. But what we would like is for you to communicate with us. So we know the number of projects, the types of projects, the dollar amounts of the houses you're going to be building, so we can make sure and fill gaps and not duplicate a lot of things that are being built in the community. So we want to continue to collaborate and coordinate on that. So when we talk about economic development, we got to talk about Manitou. Is everybody not excited about the expansion that they announced? For Yankton specifically, there's 65,000 square foot addition that's going to be added to their building. They're going to be adding 50 new jobs in 2023, and then the economy will drive that after that on how many jobs they will be adding. They're going to add automation, which I am particularly excited about, because the more automation we have on some of these entry-level jobs, those people can be upskilled to run the robots and the cobots, and they can make more money at those jobs having higher skills. They're also going to be acquiring an additional it's about 24 acres of land adjacent to their property in preparation for future growth that they anticipate. Manitou knows there's a strong North American market, and they are confident that Yankton and Madison, South Dakota are the two places that they are going to invest in to help make that happen. This is what we work for. We want our local companies to expand. We at Yankton Thrive have not been out there trying to find new companies to bring to Yankton. We've been working with those who are already invested in our community to continue to grow. We know there's other manufacturers out there looking to expand. We are excited to work with them, just like we have with Manitou, to do what we can to grow that economy, to grow those primary jobs. We know that the manufacturers here during COVID are actually did really well. There's a record number of back orders by many of the companies, and it's exciting for us as a strong manufacturing community to be continuing to do so well. One of the other aspects of Yankton Thrive is that we own fixed assets. We own property that is ready for development. Many of these properties we have owned for multiple years. And there's a reason for that, because when a company or someone does want to expand, it's crucial that we have property available and ready for them. So we have over 100 acres that we own. And then we also own the data center, which is located out on West City Limits Road and 21st Street, which is under a lease with Midco. So workforce development. We've been talking about it. We need people, and we need a lot of people. And Rita Nelson has been working hard to collaborate and partner with the entities that are out there doing the work, finding the people and encouraging them to come move to Yankton. We have, as a part of our website, an entire page dedicated to why South Dakota, why Yankton. We're doing a lot of geo-targeting and geo-fencing to try and get people to understand what is Yankton, where is Yankton. Oh, Yankton's a pretty great community. There's a lot to offer there. So we're trying to sell them and help the community or the companies as they're out recruiting workforce here to Yankton. We also partner with Department of Labor, Yankton School District, Mount Marty, RTEC. There's just a lot of entities that we work with, so we make sure our youth also understand and their parents understand the career opportunities available. If you go to a four-year school, great. You need to know what options are here if you want to come back. If you go to a tech school, you can use a Build Dakota scholarship or other opportunities. We want you back in Yankton. And if you're going to enter the workforce, let's do what we can to make sure you're prepared for our local companies to enter one of those great career opportunities. Unemployment rate right now in Yankton County is 2.4%, and that is down from 3.1% at the same time last year. There's about 700 jobs available in Yankton today. It's a staggering number, 700 jobs with unemployment of 2.4%. We've also been working hard within the region to increase the annualized pay. That's one of the items that we track at Yankton Thrive. And right now the state annualized pay is $50,467. And Yankton County's at $49,108. I have not been able to find a time in the past 4 years since I've worked for Thrive that we have ever surpassed the state average. That is one of the goals that we're trying to work toward as a part of our Yes campaign, is to get our annualized pay to at least the same level as the statewide average. So I would be remiss if I also did not mention tourism and business services, because we need those two areas. If I want to answer that question, how does Yankton Thrive benefit the citizens of Yankton County? Even though your campaign dollars do not directly support these two areas, they are vitally important to our economy. The tourism numbers are good. Camping numbers were great through all of COVID, and Yankton really has a strong tourism economy. Our business services are also important because they do a lot of small business support. They do the leadership programming, they plan community events and activities, and they really create those opportunities for the businesses to get to know each other. On your table today and available online is the new visitor guide that just came out, I believe, last week. So this is one of the publications that we do to really promote statewide what is there to do in Yankton. Why is the place you should come visit? And if you're gonna visit here, why not consider living here and working here too? We will gladly find some opportunities for you. So in closing, I wanted to thank you for continuing to invest in the activities that we do to help drive the economy, which helps bring in tax dollars, property tax, ways that help the county grow their portion of the pie. That's what we need to do, not just slice that financial pie into smaller pieces, but continue to grow the pie, and we need to continue to do that together. And with that, I welcome any of your questions.
Nancy? Anybody have questions?
I wanted to answer your 5 questions.
Well, thank you for coming and presenting, and
Thank you.
was worked with Valley to kind of find a week that worked, so.
Thank you, Nancy.
And thanks for sticking with us, Harry. We're
Not a problem.
only an hour behind
Yeah,
schedule.
it happens. So Harry Redmond with Planning and Development District 3. I was just asked to kind of come down and do some demonstrations on what we're doing with internet mapping. Some of these things won't apply to you guys directly, but you'll probably come up with an application that would work. This first one, as you can see, it's a city of Mitchell, kind of know your council members. And alls it is there are city wards. And when somebody would click on it, they would just get a picture of the 2 city council members, their name, and a way to contact them. Now on this screen, it kind of comes in a little large, but usually it's a little smaller on the side. And the same thing, if you just click another, pretty simple application. And this is just utilizing our ARC Online, which Yankton County has access to ARC Online through Paul and the emergency management. So a lot of this stuff I'm going to show you, you guys can be doing yourselves. And the next one I wanted to show is, let's see if I can, this one, Mitchell zoning. And this one is strictly utilizing the ARC Online application. That's why it kind of has a weird URL. But alls it is City of Mitchell's zoning districts, parcels, aerial imagery. So if you wanted to know what the zoning classification is, you just come over, click, it's an R2. And when you click the hyperlink, it'll take you right into the zoning classification for that zoning district. Now, if you wanted to, you could put more hyperlinks in there if there's more information that is specific to an R2.
And it looks like that went right into that chapter of their
Yeah.
ordinance in there.
Yep, so they have their stuff online. And so what we end up doing is kind of breaking it down so it bypasses all the stuff that they don't care about. So it's a nice quick way to get information for people. And again, all of this is running online, and it has the county parcels and their zoning district. This next one, City of Alexandria. What you're looking at is all their utilities, and it has the county website for their parcels overlaid. So I'm just gonna kind of come over to this side of town. So what he's doing is he's using a tablet and using our ARC online access, and he's going out and collecting all of his utilities. That comes right in. It's pretty accurate, pretty simple to use. He collects the points and the infrastructure out in the field, and then during the winter months, he'll come back in and attribute a lot of the information. So he hasn't really put anything in here except for a PDF, which is just kind of a sketch that has some measurements on where the curb stop is. If I go back. He also has signs. So here he has a lot of information regarding street sign. And what else? Let's go. And I believe there's supposed to be some images. Looks like he doesn't have an attachment on this one.
That shows the location and could potentially show the image of the sign, like
Yeah,
no
yeah.
through truck sign or
Yep,
stop
he's,
sign or.
yeah, it's too bad I can't
Oh, that's-
get to it. It's the screen size on this. Can't scroll down. But yeah, at the very bottom, it'll have all the attachments. And I think they have just a nice picture of the street sign with the pole. And you can put as many attachments as you want. So if you had a as-built drawing of the water line, you would just attach it. And so he's currently building, and like I said, he's utilizing software, free software that he downloads to his tablet. And then we give him password protected access to ARC Online. And then whenever he goes out and collects, it automatically shows up here on the map. The next thing we'll go into here is county website. Currently, this is Davidson County. We have 26 counties that we do websites for in South Dakota. It's just the basic parcels. As you zoom in, you start to see these orange parcels. Those are all the good recent sales. Those pop up last 3 years, color coordinated by year. And so we have this kind of standardized for all 26 counties that we utilize. So we've gotten a lot of good positive feedback on consistency with the website from one to the other. We customize this strictly to the county's needs. So how you see some information displayed, and if you go to another county, it might be a little different. It's just how Davidson County wants to view their information. What I'll do is show this tool here. This is an elevation tool. This one was developed because Hanson County has drainage board. And one of the guys would like to see the lay of the land before he goes into his meetings. So what they do is just turn on the aerial imagery. And let's say the guy was wanting to put drain tile through here. You can just come in, click that, and you just draw your path. And then what it's going to do is generate you a cross section. So there you can kind of get a cross section elevation, and there's the creek right there, the big drop off. And you can see the red number. So I'm, negative 1.42 feet below where we started, which was right up here.
It's amazing.
And so as you can see, the red X along the line, so it kind of shows you where you're at on the map. So he likes to use this just to kind of get an idea of which way the water flows or other information. And I think we actually have done this a few times for the highway department on some culverts. So that tool there was developed because a county had a need. And it's the same thing with all of our tools. Counties have a need. Other counties find it useful, so we add it to the system. So essentially, there's kind of three ways you can get information about this piece of property. Well, I guess first off, there's the basics, kind of your Google search. You can search by site address, parcel owner name. If you just go in here and type, it'll search all three databases and then give you a printout. But if you just go in, it's a point and click, so you don't have to leave the screen to go do something. So when you click on it, you'll just get some of the basic information. Pretty much your land owner, mailing address, owner name, legal descriptions. We have another way of getting information. Man, this screen is weird. This isn't usually how it comes in on your computer. If I mess with your scaling, it'd be a little different. But when you click, you'll get just another database that will pop up. Here they have the valuations. And then if there's a structure on there, how many stories the year built. Now, if you have more information in your database, you can have it displayed. This is just what Davidson County wanted. And then we do I think they did the last 5 years worth of taxes. And then if there was a recent sale, it would show up down here. Now on both pages, there's a more information page. This will go straight to a property card. And again, this is displayed how Davidson County wants it. If they had images, there would be an image showing of the property instead of kind of a drawing of the courthouse. So here, this is just a PDF, so you can print it, and it's just kind of breaks everything out, kind of organized. And again, how Davidson County wants it. A lot of our other counties, it's kind of different. Some have the last 5 years of assessed history, assessed value, but here we did tax history. Treasurer wanted, when they paid, how much, and any special assessments. And then again, if they had pictures down here at the bottom, would be kind of a collage of pictures. If I go back to the map, this one, let me close this. That's that. So this next tool, and again, this was something that a county had an idea for. They wanted to search by all the parcels within a certain section. So that's a township range. If I can just minimize that a little bit. So it'll zoom to that section 1. And then down here is the database of all the parcels that it highlights. From here, you can export it out to CSV files that you can work with Excel, mailing labels, or whatever you want to do. The nice thing with this tool also, bring it back up, you can add to the selection right here. So if you wanted section 1 and section 36, you just go 36, hit add again. And we'll go here, or I'll just say 15. And it'll add it to my database. So now I have 20 parcels selected. And so you can keep adding, or you can subtract. There's a remove from current results. So you can kind of do your own analysis within the site itself. And so I'll get rid of that one. This next tool, I think this one was a request for, again, from Hanson County, where they can do some searching on their recent sales. In their database, they have a number of stories, bedrooms, bathrooms. But what I'm going to do is just do a search, say 50,000 to 150. We'll leave the dates alone, but you can narrow it down if you want. And I'll say Go. Let's see if there's anything in Ethan. And we'll hit search. And so there were 3 properties that had that criteria of 50,000 to 150,000. Again, you can export this database out to Excel spreadsheet if you want to work with it in Excel. The other nice thing about this is you can not only search by all those values. Let's say you just want to search within a 5-mile radius of your property for any sales. I think that said 5 feet, didn't it? Yeah. That won't get you much. So we'll go back in there. So now it's 5 miles. And then here's all the sales. There's 33 of them from where I clicked. And then from there, you can push it to an Excel spreadsheet, kind of get more information. You can get a list of all the owners, the sales, how much they were. And then if you click on one, it'll kind of correspond to the recent sales. So then you can get more information if you need to. And you can do it by search, just a shape. You can come in here and just draw a box. And so it'll give you some more information. I still had the buffer on, so it did 5 miles from that square. And again, we have those capabilities built in, so you can add to it or remove from your searches. So you can keep drilling it down until you find exactly what it is you're looking for. I'll clear that. And again, that's just on all the recent sales. So that database. This is an address inspector. This one is for all of our counties because they all assign their own addresses for 911. Somebody's going to build a house, just south of this property on this access. They just click on it. It gives them the 911 address. This is all based off of the next gen data sets that we built into the website. We maintain the point layer for them. So what they'll do is just email us that new address, and then we put it into that database, which was that blue point. If I stop clicking. So the counties are able to use the website to assign their own addressing if they want. If somebody provides them longitude, latitude, and want to know what the address is, they can type it in there. Many different ways they can type in along lat and get the address. So this is all of our counties. Most of the counties that we have websites for have this built-in feature. This next tool, this one is for the zoning. 1320 is our default that we put in there. Seems to be a typical zoning buffer. You come in here, and what it'll do is it'll actually just buffer the parcels. So now over here, I have 6 parcels that intersect that 1320 foot buffer. So then you can export this out to a CSV and generate your mailing labels so you can notify people. You can also do it by the boundary. So if I wanted to buffer that boundary right in there, it'll generate a 13. So different ways you can create your own buffer. And there you can see I picked up 14 instead of doing it by a point. And it also has the results over here. So you can always click on one and it will, if I hide it, zoom to it, highlight it blue. And again, when you're on your desktop, the scaling isn't like this. So the map is usually really large and everything else is on the sides. You can also just select parcels. So if I just go in here, zoom out, you just draw a box, you can get all the parcels. I selected 14 parcels. I can create it as a layer. So if I wanted to generate a map, or I can just view the information in the spreadsheet down here. And then again, you have all the property information here where you can dump it to Excel if you need to. Couple other tools, you have some drawing, measuring layers here for Davidson County. We also have the floodplain, voting layers, zoning, plats, soils. They keep talking about adding more layers to it, but nobody's really had a request for it, so they just don't want to put it out there. One of the other things that this website was initially built for was for the assessors, for doing soils, calculating acres when they had splits. So as we come down to this farm here, click on the soil report, you click on a property, it'll pull in the deeded acres right there and then give you the deeded acre soil report. So there's 3.17 acres of soil type BEE and so on. From here, you can generate a nice little printout pie chart. So you got 40, I think that says 48% of LA soil, 46.5. So a lot of counties will, after they do the split, will print this off, put it in a property card. And so that way, if somebody comes in and wants some information about the soils, they got a nice little breakdown. The other thing that came out a few years ago, so if there is a split, obviously if it's a new one, there won't be deeded acres to it. So you can just come right in here and you can type in 160, hit the refresh button, and all the acres recalculated to equal 160. So it's a pretty neat little system that we developed. The other tool that came out was a flooded lands report. This is mostly for those riparian buffer strips. I don't know if you've seen those, but some counties have a lot of flooded land applications. So you can just use this site, come in here after you determine your areas that are flooded. You draw your little polygons for areas being flooded, and then you click on the property. And so now it'll tell you there's 12.88 acres that are flooded on that 217 acre property. And it'll tell you which soil it's affected. And the same thing, you can generate the report. So over here, it's less than 1%, 0.1% of your land is flooded. It was kind of a big parcel, and you can also do the same thing with the line. So usually on the riparian buffer strip, I think it's 50 feet. You just come in here. I'm not going to add all those vertices in there, but you draw your line, generates the buffer, click the property. So now we have 19.24 acres that are flooded. And then the assessor can utilize that information to make their adjustments. One more and then I'll be done. We're going to be doing this this summer. It's permits applications. This is our counterpart up in Watertown, 1st District. They're doing it for a lot of, I just scroll down, a lot of entities. But Davidson County has requested that we get one up and going for them, I think by the end of the year. Essentially, this site is using ARC online only, essentially. So again, you guys have ARC online. We would just kind of probably go in there and just build it. So you'll be utilizing your own software if we did something like this. So what it does is it just opens up essentially a survey. It's an Excel spreadsheet that you just kind of go in, plug in your information. You type in your address or your long lat, put it on the property, upload your sketches, just, all the information that you want to see. And then you can use your mouse to sign for it. And then once you hit submit, I don't know if anybody was down in the EOC when we had the flood in the dashboard and some 511, when somebody called Sioux Falls, they got on the system. When the place in Sioux Falls filled out the flood, a dot would appear on the map automatically, and then Paul could go out in the field and provide services. It'd be the same thing. There would be the dashboard where, you know, Gary would start seeing all these dots popping in. And then from there, he can create, delete, approve, update, deny, do whatever he has to do and manage it from a map standpoint. But it seems to be working really well up in Hamlin, and I think they're getting it going for Cottington County, maybe in Watertown. So we're going to be going up there probably this summer and just kind of getting their footprint on how they did it. But those are just kind of a handful of some apps that we are generating. And so if you guys think you have something that you want, just reach out and we'll get it going for you.
Whose imagery is that using then? Is that just Google
Um,
imagery, or whose imagery, and how often is that updated?
Yeah, so for Hanson County, it's just Esri's base maps. I have no idea when those are taken or updated. But we try to load at least, if I go to the county, Davidson County. So FSA flies every other year. So we try to load the last 3 years of FSA imagery. So you always try to have something current if you don't have pictometry, which Yankton County does and Davidson County does. That's why you see that imagery is so crisp and looks good, is because of the pictometry. Otherwise, if I just click on the 2016, it doesn't look that bad, but when you get down there, you'll start to turn a little grainy. But we just try to utilize some other government imagery.
And Harry, this can replace our beacon system that we currently have, and it's for less money as well, and has.
Yeah, our websites, with all the application and coding, we do charge $3,500 a year. And we also, out of our 26 counties we maintain, none of them lock it down and sell passwords. They all feel that it's all public information, should be out there. It was paid for by public tax dollars, so you know, most of them just feel it should be a transparency thing. But it's kind of your decision.
Where is all the data stored?
Pretty much like in Davidson counties, on our server. We just get exports from the county, depending on the software, like Charles Mix. We get data dumps each night, so it's constantly updated every day. Davidson County, due to the limitation of their software, they have to manually export it and email it to us monthly. And then we just have scripts that automate the process to get it updated.
Any further questions for Harry? Well, we appreciate it. It looks like
Thanks.
a powerful tool.
It is, and you guys have ARC Online, so I utilize it. You're paying good money for it.
A lot of the departments, and I know emergency management's already utilizing it.
Yeah.
And we used a lot of that with the highway department with all the flooding, so it's got a huge potential for the county.
Yep, I think it came in handy for the flood. Very, so.
Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
Thanks, Harry.
Okay, I'm gonna move item 16 down to after 18. We'll come back to it, and we're gonna, let's do 17. That should not take long, and then we'll get to the West 11th Street. Sorry for being behind folks that are here for that discussion, but
So what number are we
we're
on
gonna do
now?
item 17, the planning commissioners.
Okay.
So there should be a sheet in front of you.
Yeah, there's
Circle
two up for
names.
appointments. We had 4 applicants, Chris Barkle, Christy Schultz, Lauren Nelson, and Nick Severson. And I have some voting sheets if you need them.
I think we've got
if you
them.
got 'em, you're
Circle
good.
two names and
Yep, 2 names.
sorry. Do you have them all?
Okay, Chris Barkle, 3, Lauren Nelson, 3, Christy Schultz, 2, and Nick Severson, 2.
That I would entertain a motion to appoint Chris Barkle and Lauren Nelson.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will retain Chris Barkle and welcome Lauren Nelson to the planning and zoning. Okay. Item 18, West 11th Road Project.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to recuse myself from discussion and voting on this project
Okay, Don.
because I own property on that road.
I don't know how the rest of the board feels. If you want to be part of the discussion and refrain from voting, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
You're welcome to come up to the podium.
Lou.
Hi. I'm Connie Milky and my husband Keith and Bob Tereshinsky and Daisy will be right in. And we went door to door and got 39 signatures from homeowners and 2 groups of nuns from both Sacred Heart and Benedictine Convent to agree to pay, to help pay for the improvements to West 11th Street. So the only no's out of all the property owners are the 2 farmers list and law. And I have these 39 documents. As in, should we keep them?
Keep them for now.
Okay. So what's up for discussion? What do you have?
Okay. Yeah, if you want to. You were at the meetings. If you want to
Oh,
give an overview of
just
kind of
to
what's
walk
discussed
through.
for the project and.
So we had met a couple times now, talking about putting a hard surface on a gravel road that has many homes along it. You have a total of 42 different landowners. And 40 of them have said they are willing to self-tax themselves to pay to put down a double chip seal. So Mike had given us some numbers. To get that road surfaced would be about $140,000. So obviously, the more homeowners who are willing to help shoulder that cost, the better it is. And so in your packet, there's some information about estimating how much that would cost, depending on if we require them to everybody writes a check today for the whole project, or if you have 4 years of collecting taxes to cover the project, or 5, et cetera. And so that's in your packet there. So there's a little change. I had estimated when I sent this out, we only had 38 respond. So the numbers there in bold are based on 38 homeowners.
And we have 39.
We have 39.
And I was thinking it was 40, but
CPAC, CPAC and James Fear are owned by the
They're-
same person.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
it's the, one property's empty.
Okay, so
we
I'm gonna
felt
do my
with, same
best.
owner, we couldn't take and charge it twice without a building on it.
Okay, so with 40 for 4 years, it would be 875, so about $900. You're talking for 39 owners, about $900 for 4 years. And it would be about 720 if it was amortized over 5 years. So that's kind of what it comes down to. If the commission decides this is the route we would like to take to offer to homeowners that they could pay for a hard surface, those two figures, they would pay for 4 or 5 years to cover the cost of the initial project.
And what they agreed to was 5 years at 685.
Yeah, it's 685.
Okay, so that.
Not legally, but this is what the number that we used was 685 over
685.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's 39, I'm guessing it'll be a little bit north of that, but not like $200 or $300 north of that. So that gives you an idea of how much it would be to recover the cost. So if we did the project in 2023, we'd collect taxes for 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 to cover all of those costs. Then the question comes up, what about long-term maintenance? Because we all know a hard surface road always requires to be chip sealed at some point in the future. So toward the bottom of what was in your packet is what we have spent on maintenance over the last 4 years. And that averages about $5,300 a year to grade it. And if we need to put gravel on that, that does not include the snow removal, because whether it's gravel or hard surface, doesn't matter, you still need to remove snow. So that would be the cost of a gravel road. So above there, estimating about $36,000 to put a chip seal and paint. And if there might be any patching that we have to do, the 38 landowners, you can see the estimates there to do that. So the question was posed, would we charge them for the full hard surface, or would we instead look at the difference? If this is what it costs us in gravel every year, and this would be the cost to re-chip seal it, would they just pay the difference? So those are some questions that we talked about during our meeting, and that's why it was put in your packet to maybe kick around what that would be. So you're looking at 4 years. If you have to chip seal it every 4 years, that's $9,000 versus $5,300 every year if it stays gravel. And if you amortize it over 5 years, it's $7,200 versus the $5,300. So it's a couple of $1,000s extra every year.
I have a question on the maintenance. Now, with the maintenance, if we put this chip seal down, can this maintenance go to the 2 property owners listed in law that did not sign, because you do not have to grade it or put gravel on it?
I don't think that's something we can do, to put that all on the 2 landowners who chose not to participate.
How about these landowners that didn't? Can they get taxed for it? Number one, we have Sacred Heart, we have Benedict Convent, that they don't live there.
They also
don't
don't pay
drive it.
taxes.
What's
Do
that?
they?
Yeah, those ones, because they're rented property, so
Oh,
they
they're
do
rented,
pay
okay.
taxes on it because it's
And then-
income.
And then we also have Don Kettering and his 3 neighbors that don't live on that road, and they can take and drive out Deer Boulevard, but yet they signed for it.
Mhm.
Now, is this fair that 39 people, and there's 6 of them that do not live on this, and 2 landowners, farmers, that increase their value of their property once we do this,
Mhm.
that they don't get taxed for it? I don't think that's fair.
And that is a question, and that was at the very bottom, the concerns going forward is, do you require every landowner to participate? And if one doesn't want to, the deal's off. Or do you say, well, the majority want to do it, so we force tax everybody? Or do you say whoever wants it, you pay, whoever doesn't, you don't? Those are the three options. And that's what 4 people here need to decide. And whether we decide tonight or not, I don't think really matters right now. Our deadline, if we do want to pursue this, it would be another tax levy, July 16th or 15th. July 15th is our deadline to get that passed so that it can be petitioned.
So
Bob, do you have anything?
Couple questions, just a couple loose ends here. At $175 a year for maintenance, there's no end factor to that. Do we just, do the landowners, they asked me when I went door to door, did they pay that forever? Or is that just a general maintenance fee, you know? And I told them it was a general maintenance fee that they would get taxed for every year.
Yep, and that's a question that needs to be decided.
And another loose end is the money that's allotted already for the road. I saw there was $5,200 for maintenance, and it was an average of 52.
Average, yep.
Would that still be left there? And then we build on that with $175 from each landowner put together
Yes.
every year.
As a dedicated fund for our neighborhood rather than going into a general fund for all the county roads. Could it be?
And that's something that we would have to figure out the logistics. The way, in my mind, how I see that is if this were to move forward and it was agreed upon $175 or whatever it was for the annual, maintenance. Me as a parcel owner, I would want a commitment from the county that chip seal happens every 5th year then, or whatever that, but that.
There has to be something specifics written down here.
Right, because the intention is we're gonna assume we're always gonna spend $5,300 a year on gravel, road grader, dust control, if that's, happens, the $5,300 and we're gonna spend that no matter what. So the intention, I think, would be that difference in the cost for chip seal maintenance would be kicked in by the landowners, but yeah, the $5,300 would essentially come from the county still.
Right. And as Keith mentioned, the 2 other landowners on the north side of the highway, I think there should be some stipulation too, when you write up this formal product that we sign. If one of them decides to get in the development business out there and starts to put in cul-de-sacs and, infrastructure and everything else, I think there should be some room left there to wiggle them into everybody that moves into that development is going to pay for that road, like we would.
We rezoned 2 properties on the curve north of Deer Boulevard to residential. So that has a potential to happen.
And
That's a good point.
And to make a statement for the landowners across to the north, I mean, they have an entrance and exit on the north side of highway, Old Highway 52, or 50, 314.
And one has
Old fif-
So they, they really, the sisters told me they can send their renter out on 314 Highway 50. So, to farm back and forth.
Sure.
So they wouldn't produce any real heavy equipment on that road. So anyway, I think there's just 4 or 5 things that have to be addressed. But we're all willing to pay for it, but we just want to know we know how much, and we also know how much the maintenance fee is going to be, but we want to know how long it's going to be, or if so many years we're going to do this, so many years we're going to do this. So.
What do you perceive would happen when Don Kettering sells his house to somebody else and I've still got 4 years of payments left?
Yeah, tell you want to live, you
The
want to
new
live
guy
on a
gets
paved
to
road,
pay.
it's going to cost you
Property owner.
$685 for the next 3 or 4 years.
Which they're gonna look at their
But
tax.
what you're telling me is the county's gonna have to come out and collect from that new buyer.
when you pay your taxes.
It'll just go on their
I-
tax.
It would have a new
Special
line, a
assessment.
line item.
I-
assessment, right?
I sold my house. I'm leaving.
But look at the good end of it, though, after 3 or 4 years, your taxes are gonna be down.
It
Just tell
doesn't
them the
figure.
truth, just tell them the truth. that your
If 20
taxes
people,
are
if 20
$3,000
people move out of
Let me
there,
finish, let me finish. If
okay.
your tax is $3,000, you tell them your tax is gonna be $3,685 for the next 4 years if you're buying my house.
I can't tell them that. I can't, I'd have no justification because I don't know what the levies are gonna be. I don't know what the appraisals are gonna
I
be.
mean, you're gonna be close.
That's a dollar amount. You're talking about a dollar amount. It's not gonna go by the levy. It's gonna go by that dollar. They're gonna have the same dollar amount every year.
Yeah, it's like the city curb tax. If you own the corner lot,
Special assessment.
Okay.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
just upfront
so it'll
and
be,
tell them the truth about the whole thing.
yep.
And then they get paid for it.
But they'll see that on the taxes.
Sure.
When they,
Exactly, right.
So,
Taxes could go down to $175 for the first 5 years, or $175 a year. Okay.
so these fine folks have done a lot of legwork on this and we've met several times. And so now I think we're to a point that the commission needs to decide if this is a project we want to pursue. And if we think that this is realistic and it makes sense from a road perspective, long-term, then I will work with Deb and Patty to figure out the contract or whatever we're going to call it to get it in writing.
Is
Because
that
it's,
in the-
it's an iterative process and this is our first meeting in April, you know, so we need to have something buttoned up by the first part of June. So April, May, that's 2 months, which is pretty good amount of time to figure out the details and go back and forth. So I think tonight we need a general and then we'll know where we're going. Do you want to hear from Mike since?
Yeah, I would like to
he-
hear from the
Mike
king,
sat-
the king
sat
of
the whole
roads.
Meeting with us, so. Now you know what our meetings are kind of about.
I do feel there's something to look at doing just for the fact of the amount of road maintenance. Last year that we've done dust control on that road was 2018. Every year, you look at the numbers, maintenance is costing more every year because there's less, you know, it's wearing out.
So are you telling us it would be worthwhile to let them pay for a road? A yes or a no?
Yes, and maybe some other developments would possibly want to follow suit in the future. Because there's a few other roads out there that they're to the point, I feel they're to the point to where the maintenance cost, the road complaints, amount of traffic. Some of these are getting to that point to where they're getting developed enough to where it should be a thought.
We looked at dust control costs and that was 18,000 a mile. Is that?
9,000.
9,000.
9,000 a mile is what a guy, that's the other thing is spray down $9,000 a year. It's just thrown away.
Right. I'm just saying that's one of the options, that's what's been requested by many homeowners in the past. And if you look
So-
at the cost of that and then you look at, if you have a willing group of people to improve their road.
So are you going to be able
want us to
to,
maintain it, I think we'd be foolish not to.
do you think you will be able to lock in the people who don't want to participate now, but 5 years from now want to build houses out there? Well, I know, but there's 2, but a bunch of land, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, they're like 80-acre parcels, something like that. Not quite, I guess, because they're slanted, but
Can you rope them in?
you know, and
I think that's something we have to look at. I mean, there isn't really anything that we found so far in South Dakota that helps us. We may have to look elsewhere to see. That's why we wanted to find out if they could get everyone on board, because obviously if you do, it's a lot easier if everybody agrees to it. But
Yep, so and whatever we do here, whatever we decide, whether we go with, if you don't want to participate, you don't have to, then the next development that comes to us, and they got 70% of the people, do you give them the thumbs up or the thumbs down? Do you force the 30% to do it or not? So you start running into putting yourself into a pickle, you have to be prepared. This is our framework. If you don't make the framework, your thumbs down, and that's just how
I
it
agree on
goes.
that. Maybe our West 11th Street could be a template for, 39 people or 39 landowners out of 41. What's the percentage of that? That's the percentage that you have to have.
Yep, and
Or
do
whatever.
you let
want.
the others off the hook though in the end? So that's really the question.
I assume the levy can be adjusted, or I shouldn't say adjusted, but the parcels can be added or subtracted in the future. It's not like we would lock this in, because my thought is, the farmland you would remove from that. But if it's developed upon, I would say that it's forced, that maintenance levy gets forced and then redistributed amongst the parcels. And who knows if that's ever gonna happen, maybe someday, but it wouldn't be fair to have you people pay for a road to come in so a future developer can capitalize off of a hard surface road.
It has to be written, and that's what I
Yes.
mean. There has to be a document written that has, or states that in case this happens,
Yep.
these people pay the same amount, or it's divided up. So many, it's
And just
divided
a
up
different
50 ways now.
divisor, yeah.
Yep.
If you go by that, like the city, the footage and all that, then that's not that set amount that you want. Would you say
Correct,
300?
yeah, it was just an example
Oh,
of another
because that'll
line
go by
item.
the.
Correct, the footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why we went with dividing it up just 41 ways is that they tried to do this like 18 years ago or whatever. I think Don remembers that. And they measured the frontage
The
of
front
each
footage.
landowner. And we said,
Just along the road. not
yeah,
along the
it
cul-de-sacs.
wasn't fair at all then. So we figured dividing it out to
Yeah.
that.
And the law allows for that. It starts out with front footage, but if you keep reading,
Right.
it says you can figure out a plan that's equitable to
Sure.
all the parties.
Sure.
there is one other thing. Bob and I went to list and laws a couple of times. And they seemed somewhat that they would pay the 175.
Yeah, Barb said, well, she and Jerry were looking at each other, and then Barb said, well, how long do we have to pay this 175? And that was, and I couldn't come up with an answer. I said, I really don't know. I said, you can pay forever, I think. I said, but I'm not sure. So these are some of the things probably you have to have stated. And I think Barb might be still interested in just, doing something and
Wasn't
even
Ryan-
paying into
wasn't
that.
Ryan List also?
Ryan might also, yeah. I don't want to speak for him and,
Right.
next you'll have me writing a check out for both of them, but no, I think they would be interested in it.
And I think you're gonna have to look at though, that 175 could have to be adjusted. I mean, right now you're looking at what Mike has for his road costs. But if those things skyrocket and
They could.
It's gonna go up.
it's gonna go, the base is also gonna go up. So what I'm saying is that,
I think everybody understands that with
Yes.
the oil prices and everything.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
but I think we should give you.
It'd either have to be a actual levy
this,
amount
oh, give me
for the
copy.
maintenance side, or just adjusted by CPI.
I think
So
you
I
should
don't-
have this. I have copies. But this is what we took to every landowner and stuff over 5 years.
Okay.
So if you do, we don't want to go back and say, hey, it's $100 and some more. They agreed to this 5-year deal of $685.
Okay.
And so I made copies, so those are for your signatures.
That's it.
So the only thing that I would say is it's great that they did that. I think once the formal agreement is
Drafted.
drafted and approved by the commission, I don't know if you're gonna ask that go back and have all of them sign off on it, because it may be different. I don't know. I get you, we gave you a general idea of what it would be.
Or add a year.
Right.
Well, I think first of all, it sounds like we're in agreement that this is worth pursuing. We need to identify what happens with future maintenance of non-participating parcel owners upon development, maintenance fees going forward, and then there are some residences that did not want to participate.
No.
Or it's just the
No,
farmland, it's
just
just
the
the
two
farmland.
parts, the
So
two.
that makes that easy.
Yeah.
That makes that easy.
Yeah.
For the future, we will need to determine that, but I would say, as long as we're in agreement, we move forward, work on those details, that framework, and when we have it finalized, if it's, I think whether it's changed or not, we still meet to maybe hold another meeting with the West 11th folks and just say, this is what we came up with. And maybe we approve it prior to, so they know exactly what it is. And then we don't move forward until West 11th residences say,
Get it
yep,
by
this sounds
agree.
good. We want to move forward.
Yep. So I want everybody to think about the next one. And what threshold do we need? Because the next one will have a different group of landowners, a different mix of farmland in there. And are we going to require all of the homeowners essentially to participate? And farmland, it's up to you, because that's what we're doing here, is we're requiring all of the owners, the residents to participate.
But can't we add a provision that if it's developed?
Well, but that's, I'm just talking about
Oh, I know,
today
but I
and
mean,
getting it
just,
going.
just so they don't back door.
And absolutely, I think. if you have
Because I can,
homes,
once it's,
you should
once
participate.
once you have a nice road, they're gonna go, oh,
Your land is worth a
let's
lot
sell
more.
some houses.
It's
This
worth a lot
one,
more.
to me, is a
Which,
fairly,
as we all know, we need more housing.
it's a fairly simple solution at this one, but it's the future ones that I think
It's
are
the
gonna be
next
different.
one.
Because you may have, we essentially have two parcels of ag land on there. If you had a different mix and you had, say, a longer road, or if the traffic was gonna be a different mix, now you might have a different situation. If you're hauling a lot of grain across that road or down that road, a lot of tractor traffic on that road. It just, and right now we have a group of people in agreement, which is amazing.
And
You might have 60-40, you might have 70-30 of the actual homeowners down the road. So that's what we need to develop or.
And
And Kettering may back out.
And to protect those people that live along that road, I think we have to consider weight limits year round,
Speed limits.
speed limits.
And what is objectionable about that?
Well, the farmer probably isn't gonna wanna have a 20,000 pound weight limit. Concrete guys.
Maybe he'll have to come in from a different vantage point.
Well,
If they
Well, you're gonna have to
can't.
pour a
Some
basement
of them
sometime with the cement truck.
Yeah, cement truck could probably bring 3 yards at a time,
Yeah.
but those are the things that are gonna destroy the road and cost the landowners a lot of money.
And I will say though, it's definitely things to think about, but like I look at 301. This road won't be too dissimilar from that because it, go home yet, Mike? You know, those costs plan on putting in a more gravel base. If we have a good base, it's graded and drained and you double chip that. For the ratio of car traffic to what ag traffic, at least on this road, it's gonna be a good road. But I'm just saying in the future, those are things we need to consider.
So proceed. I will
would
work on
say
getting a
it'd be
form
fools not
together. Okay. All righty. Thank you for hanging around for
And
us.
then will you use that 5-year deal and you go up the deal? Because we don't want to go back and say now it's 4 years. that
Yep.
we paid this.
Gotcha. Yep, absolutely. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
You guys realize, of course, if you go 5 years, it's costing somebody money on interest. Just as long as you realize
Oh,
that.
yes. We're in that 70-year zone. We might not
All right.
Okay.
Now what number are we
Now
on?
I said we were gonna go to 16, but I see we have a representative here
From 20.
from 20. So let's jump to 20, item 20.
That would
And
be you.
recreational marijuana zoning. If you don't mind, Ned, we'll start some discussion here and then I'll open it up to comment. Get to our file. So we kind of brought this up couple meetings ago that it should be on our radar. I feel it should be. You know, recreational marijuana was legalized and passed, and we know that it's a high probability that recreational will be on the ballot coming in November. I can't load my ballot. But anyway, we have two options, and it's kick the can, or we can try to get, you know, some discussion generated, and we obviously don't know what the future holds, but I think it's worth discussion and potentially getting something in place. The ballot or the petition is in our pack. I got it to load, yeah, is in our packet. So I'll open it up with some discussion there, and if I'm sure.
Is it on the ballot for November?
Still gathering
It's-
signatures right now, correct?
Yeah, they have more than enough signatures technically, but there's always sloppy handwriting and things that need thrown out.
So generally, it's on the ballot for
Ned, why
November.
don't you?
Okay.
So just for clarity, Ned Horsted, Executive Director of the Cannabis Industry Association of South Dakota. There's a ballot initiative campaign that I'm, good friends with, but different organization. I believe they need about 17,000. They've collected about 20,000. I think their target is beyond that, just to make sure that they've got a high validity rate. But yeah, there's no guarantees in life, but I'd bet the farm on that being on the ballot.
How is it different than the last measure? Is it just gonna deal with recreational marijuana, or is it gonna deal with hemp? And so how is it gonna be different?
Yep. So because Amendment A got thrown out with a single subject rule, that was a constitutional amendment. That was, part of the reason that it was drafted as a constitutional amendment, was to protect that from the legislature. They figured that would be a tough task. Struck down based on the single subject rule. So this one is an initiated measure, stripped down. I think there's like 6 sections in it, but it in essence says marijuana is legal for adults. I don't remember the exact amounts that they legalize, but anyone 21 plus, it would legalize it for. And I believe there's a home grow provision in that as well.
And that's one thing I think we need to address as a commission, because I think it's open. If there are no retail sales allowed in the county, then home growth is allowed. If there's retail sales, there is no home growth allowed unless we specifically say that we would allow it. So those are two things that are right away gonna be in our forefront.
Mr. Chair, I guess my opinion on this is it's great to talk about it. But there's so many hurdles. I mean, it's not even on the ballot yet. And then when it is in November, maybe it passes and maybe it doesn't. And even if it does pass,
It doesn't start till July.
yeah, and the state is gonna change things with it like they always do. It might even go to another lawsuit. It's great to be aware of that. There's so many unknowns. I hesitate to get too far down the weeds. I applaud you for bringing it up. Needs to be on the radar. There's just too many unknowns. Even with medical marijuana, when it passed, look how many changes it went through. So I would say we have a really good framework with our medical, and we'll probably treat rec similar with the zoning, where we'd want it lakeside, commercial and ag. So I think we've done a great job of having a good framework, and we're gonna have to wait until the state gives us a little guidance before we get into it too deep. But good job bringing it up, but.
I agree with you to an extent, but I would like to see on our end, rather than we probably would put it in these same zones. I would like us to say, these are the zones, if and when it comes, this is where it's gonna be.
Yeah,
And
I guess
those are the things I think we can lock down.
I would say why we would treat it the same as medical, because commercial, lakeside, commercial, ag, in my opinion, why we wouldn't want it anywhere else. And so I would follow that guidance with the input we get from the state, use that as a framework, because those are really the only three areas, in my opinion, we'd want them. I mean, commercial, lakeside, we wouldn't want them residential. We wouldn't want them other places. And so we really got a good start on this already, in my opinion. So.
Does anybody have any questions for Ned? I'll have him sit down when he's done. And if you have any more comments, feel free.
No, I've got
So
just
you
a,
don't have to stand up.
yeah,
there.
real quick spiel, and some stuff that you might appreciate that I don't know if you're aware of that happened out in legislative session, that kind of sets the table for counties moving forward. At least I hope so. Well, first, I just want to say, I mean, based on how long the meeting's been, I don't want to be too long-winded, but again, I appreciate being down here. I think I've been to a lot of county meetings, but this is a prime example of what good local government looks like. So, and I tend to agree that with the zoning ordinance that you put together with medical, looks really good. It's the path of least resistance onto recreational marijuana when it does come. In the legislature, House Bill 1045 failed. That was put together by Representative Ernie Otten, who's actually my representative in Lincoln County. What that would have done is legalize and tax. It was initially a tax bill. It came out of the House Tax Committee. What that would have done is let the state take their 4.5% that they always get. Cities would have gotten 2%. And then regardless of if the sale was in a city or anywhere, I think it was another 8%. It adds up to 15%. 8% would go back to the counties, which is huge. Counties are hurting kind of everywhere in South Dakota. Property taxes are going up everywhere. The conversation that we just had for the last 5 or 10 minutes here probably could have been solved had that bill been passed and signed into law. So from an industry standpoint, we really agree that that's the right approach. Send some money back to the counties. So we're hoping to make that a part of the bill, because the ballot measure doesn't set up the whole infrastructure. That was part of the problem with Amendment A, according to the Supreme Court. It would be basically, it's legal. Now the legislature has two choices. They can either just not do anything, which creates a free-for-all, or they can set up a regulated system saying the Department of Revenue is going to regulate it. This is where the tax money goes, all of that. And I know this is just about zoning, but I'd probably be remiss to not touch at least on licensing a little bit. A few things, and I have some handouts that I sent to Valley if she wants to forward them around to you. We actually did as an association, a couple of local government calls. We may pick up on that when rec happens again, but they're posted on our YouTube. One was Chris Teagarden was the former mayor of Edgewater, Colorado. It's a suburb for Denver, so it's not, you can't really probably match up exactly what Yankton County does and what things look like out there. But one question that I asked him was the biggest impact for his community on legalization. He said the obvious impact was the tax revenue. Our city of Edgewater was able to speed up the process of updating an entire infrastructure overhaul, did not roll adult use cannabis taxes into the general fund. Instead, they used that for fixed assets. They basically paved their entire streets along with curb cuts from 1 year of taxes. And it kind of goes on. So that's in the YouTube presentation if you care to take a look at that if you hadn't seen it already. The other piece that I'll touch on, and I'll try to summarize it, is actually the Ohio State University School of Law Drug Enforcement and Policy Center put together a report. This is much more focused on states that are shifting from med to rec. But I think it is valuable, some of the things in there when you're looking at it from a local government standpoint. And I love that we have a county that's thinking ahead and being more forward thinking in this rather than just reactive, which is what we've seen in a lot of other areas. I think the gist of this is, and the conclusion, and please do take a look at it, is it makes a lot of sense to have the existing medical establishments roll right into rec. There's a shorter implementation timeline because if you already have established growers and retailers in your community, it just makes sense. They get the regulations, they've done the seed to sale tracking, all the stuff that they're going to need to do in a rec market. Smoother start to adult use due to greater levels of familiarity with marijuana regulations and an established record of compliance. So if you have one of these, 10, or you're probably not quite to 10 cultivation facilities in the county, by then you will probably know if you have any bad actors, and it's much easier to not license folks moving forward. What else? One thing that you'll probably need to consider once you get to that point is, what to do with caps. But again, that might be dictated to state laws, as he had mentioned. I think that's about all I had at a real high level. But again, just to bring it back, the zoning that you set up for medical, I think makes a lot of sense. If you do something, I would encourage you to keep that. And then that protects businesses that are already getting started and getting their feet under them without saying, well, you can sell it to patients, but you can't sell it to 21 plus. And it probably prevents a lot of headaches down the road for you all too. So with that, I'll stick around for questions if anyone has any. And again, thank you for your time and your
Quick question.
forward thinking. Go ahead.
Any counties been issued medical marijuana licenses yet not in a municipality, outside a municipality?
Yes. You're just saying the local license?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
No, not from the state, Has the state issued any medical marijuana licenses to, outside a municipality, to a county approved one?
I know they have a lot pending.
We have some too, and I'm just not aware. of
I
any.
heard there's 142 pending.
Yeah, and I think that some of that is through, for example, the Rapid City Lottery was not that long ago. So, if you have 75 applications for 15 licenses, that all goes into that giant total that you're looking at. I could take a look. I know Chamberlain had some stuff, but I believe that was within the city limits.
I don't want to hold you up.
Yeah, there may be one in Lincoln County, and I know there are several others that are pending at least. Meade County, I know, got their dispensary license done. I think they were gonna allow one out there. So, yeah.
Did you say Valley has this?
Yeah, I don't know if you're, okay. So yeah, it's a good read if nothing else. Sorry, it's a little beat up. I was reading it as I was waiting for this to pop up, so.
You guys want this at all? You got it in an email?
Not if it's in the packet. I mean, it's not in the packet, but because I've read the packet.
All right, you got it. Cool. Any other questions? All right, you got my email through that forward anyway, if you do. Thank you all again.
Yep, thank you for coming. So back to kind of commission discussion, and it is getting late, so I don't think we're gonna hash all the details out, but I guess I'll say again, I do think it's important for us to have these discussions. I'm gonna assume this is gonna end up just like medical to the
Well, I
county.
think we have a good framework with medical, so
Agree.
If, you
we'll
know,
have
if-
to maybe discuss recreational, but it's got to pass first.
well, right, I agree. And so I don't think we can make changes to the ordinance or do anything like that, but I think I see it as us allowing or disallowing home grow. Identifying the zones that it's gonna be legalized or legal in, which I think makes just boilerplate the rec. And then the other thing is gonna be, are we gonna limit the number of licenses for dispensary grow, this, that, and the other thing? And I think if we work to get that locked down, the licensing side of it is gonna take care of anything else similar that we did with rec. But if, I think we have to assume that it's gonna pass, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and if it does, we need to look at it as this is something that was approved by the voters and we should be ready to act upon it.
If we're going to allow homegrown, who's going to supervise that and go around and
Anybody
check?
checking yours?
I have bad lungs. I don't smoke.
I'd
Yeah, I
propose we
don't-
I have
just-
lots of issues,
Yeah.
but that's not one of them.
I would just propose we'd follow the medical in, the license numbers, the zoning districts, and as much as we can. And then when the state makes their rules more apparent, then we just change course and we follow the medical guideline, the medical marijuana ordinance as closely as we can, and we change where we have to. I mean, it's a good framework and it worked for us and it's already there. That's what I would propose.
How many of each applications do we have? Do you know off the top of your head, Val?
10 of each.
What?
No, that's what's actually been applied for.
We have 4 dispensaries, 5 dispensaries.
2 grows.
There's more than 2. 3,
How many?
4.
4.
But I think one of the things that Ned was saying that to me is pretty relevant is your licensing may be a little bit different if you're gonna allow those that already have a medical license
To switch over.
or add. And I think initially there was talk of not allowing people to do both.
Right, yeah, they
I
had to
think
be
that's the-
totally
They
separate.
had to be totally separate. So to me, I think the zones may be pretty clear. I think a lot of the definitions and language and all of that will be similar, but I do think a lot's gonna depend on how they're going to allow the licenses to occur. And if they may prevent medical from it, or like Ned said, is it beneficial if they allow it to grandfather in, so to speak, those that already have the medical?
Yeah, it could be the third round, which is just leave that, leave that local control. Like I've heard at least rumors out of Sioux Falls that they're thinking about doing, licensing or separate licensing. Whereas if you go to Nevada, for example, if you're a medical patient, you jump from the line, you get your own counter. But anyone that's over 21 can still shop in the same spot over here. So again, that's all licensing. From a zoning standpoint, I think you did a stand-up job with the medical ones, and I encourage you to keep going at that.
Okay. Well, I don't think, like I say, we're gonna have anything in the ordinance soon, but it needs to be high on our radar, and I think say, I think the licensing is gonna come later once we know more from the state. I think the zones and number of licenses and potentially sharing or having separate rec and medical is probably gonna be, we need to figure that out, so.
The feds could throw a wrench in all of this. if they go
Yep.
ahead and Either decriminalize or legalize. So
Mhm.
House is already working on it, whether it's Senate.
Well, yeah, let's not waste a lot of time on that. Let's move on.
Okay. On to, we're gonna go back to 16, jumping around here. I can get there. Thank you. Item 16, okay, Development Services Director job duties, and I know it's been brought up a couple times here. I think we just have a discussion about what's on the job title or the job description, what we like or maybe don't like, and what's expected of the position, and move on. Sound fair? Everybody have a chance to look at this. Is there anything that shouldn't be on here? Gary, feel free to weigh in too.
Is there anything, there's a couple, is there something in there that he acts as the zoning administrator? Because I know that, I know it says maintains oversight of county land use policies, but I know the zoning ordinance many times references the zoning administrator, and maybe that would be something in there, acts as the zoning administrator. I don't see that in there. Maybe it's in there, but I don't see it.
You don't see what?
Acts as the zoning administrator. Because that's one of his jobs. I know it doesn't specifically say that anywhere in here that he acts as the zoning administrator.
I know there have been questions regarding the budgets, and I don't think it was anybody's intention ever that the budget process be moved to that department. More so, I think, just to work with department heads, especially if there's changeover or new department heads and commissioners. and
Right, that's
Patty's
what I
gonna
remember
retire
from
someday.
the initial discussions. If there was a situation where there was new departments that wanted some help, or if various people retired and there may be a need for some help there, but I don't foresee that happening anytime in the near future, so.
I think the general consensus or the overall plan was there needs to be kind of a centralized location of a, that commission assistant. I don't want to say county manager, but somebody who's that central, call it the rock, when commissions change, when department heads change, when elected official part, change, those types of scenarios. So that was gonna be assigned, those duties would be assigned to that person to be the continuity. Don, I was thinking you had questions on, or maybe somebody had asked you some questions, but.
Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, 4 bullet points from the bottom on page 1. I'm pretty sure that's reads wrong.
It should be documenting, and I've got that noted to correct.
Yeah, I see the UU one.
And we also need to add the grade in the heading, what
Yeah.
grade position this is.
Other than that, I didn't have a big problem with it.
I do kind of agree with Dan that there's so many references to zoning administrator in the zoning ordinance. So if you're changing the job title, which it looks like you are, to Development Services Director, somewhere there's there's gotta be
Zoning.
that.
Yep.
that Delegation, that
Right.
So I made a note to add that under the planning and zoning. The first bullet should be acts as county zoning administrator. This has technically been Gary's job description since the day he was hired.
Before I was even
So, but yes, I do agree. And under planning and zoning, his first responsibility is to act as the county zoning administrator. So those are three things so far.
Right.
Or do you want to just add and zoning right before director? Will that
No,
make you
I-
happy?
Yeah, I think it'd be better down below. And then you can
Okay.
get the full county zoning administrator per ordinance or something like that in there. Anything else that needs to be adjusted? Added, deleted? I thought it was
I
fairly,
thought it- Yeah,
fairly comprehensive.
all right.
I'll work to get those done.
You're gonna do that?
Yep,
Shay?
I
Okay,
got it.
Thank you. We did 17, 18, 19. Dan, did you want to touch on that
No,
quickly or?
there's a neat thing you can do at NACO is if you have, want to research stuff, you can ask them to do it with the census data. So it's just research at NACO.com and they'll look stuff up for you. It's pretty neat. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 20 done. Item 21, approved March 11th, 2022 minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion a second, further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. March 15th meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 22, claims.
Move approval.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. March payroll.
Move approval.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, hire temporary election worker.
Don't-
Yes, I would request to, for the June primary to, hire, an elect part-time or temporary election worker, since I won't be able to handle much of the ballot, so, and probably start May 1st, I think, because we'll have a lot of stuff to do and
Move approval of the temporary election
Oh,
worker.
Okay,
Second.
further discussion. My only question is it, would it be through the spring election, midterm?
Primary.
it'll probably
Primary
be through
or primary,
June, for now, probably June 8th. Well, because I'll probably have a work election day. Or him or her.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there was.
Because that's the
afterwards.
7th. June 7th is primary.
Yes.
So May 1st through June, probably through that week, end of that week.
Yes.
May 1st through June 10th. Okay. That's a clerk position or what?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Motion to hire temporary election worker for clerk from May 1st through June 10th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, unanticipated revenue.
Move approval.
The first one, we should do all three of, there's three of them.
Do them separate?
And that first one is, like Mike had said before, the grant from James River, 31,250.
You're gonna start
that-
with that,
I
Van?
can move approval.
I'll
Second.
Oh, go ahead, Don. Don's got it.
Motion and a second to approve anticipated revenue in the amount of $31,250 from the James River Water Development District. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And then the one for $67,608, that's for insurance for his truck that was totaled.
Move approval to accept the payment from EMC Insurance for the amount stated.
Second.
Motion by Lowe, second by Kettering. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. We got one more, to the Yankton County Sheriff's Office from the Soybean Research and Promotion Council for $709.84.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve anticipated revenue. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Oh.
What?
What was that for?
The tires. Tires.
Oh.
It's a refund.
Oh, it's down, yes. Okay. We are down to 23 public comments. Would anybody in the audience care to make a public comment?
When you guys were having the discussion on the road being paved and all that stuff, I recalled, I can't tell you when it was, but I think it was a road district in the past that the county commissioner ran up to. And there's a legal law from the state that those farm agriculture could not be dragged in to that road district without their own. But I can't tell you what year it was or what it was about, but I do remember the discussion came up. Could, maybe it's changed since then. Might be something to research there, but at that time, the farmers could opt out of it because basically it was 2 or 3 houses could call themselves a road district. And the farmer with all that extra land and all that, much more property tax and all that, will get whacked like 10 times what the homeowners that wanted the road district on. And the farmer was perfectly fine with it. And another thing, as far as keeping farmers off the road, it is a county road. They have the right to drive down that road. They pay taxes for it. And the other thing I thought was kind of funny is I couldn't get a 5-cent gasoline tax to help out the county raise expenses for fixing the roads, but we can smoke pot and make great bucks on it. Hallelujah.
Thanks, Bob. Any more public comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. Item 24, commissioner updates. I don't have it.
No, not tonight.
Attended I think it was the Southeast South Dakota, the 8-county meeting. Had a good discussion there on a lot of items and always a good learning experience.
Was that since our last meeting?
I think it was.
It was. I did go to that.
Some reason they
Seems like it was
elected
a
me
long
as the
time ago.
president of that, so.
It's been a while.
We had
So
3
we
weeks,
a
that's right.
5-week.
The vast majority of the counties in our area are opting for adoption of Juneteenth as well. Lincoln County especially is running into issues of retention of employees, especially with the state in offering more holidays and increased pay. So that's just something that most of the other counties echoed, and that's all I got.
With that, I will entertain entertain a motion to go into executive session for litigation pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 125-2, subparagraph 3. And for relief pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 125-2 and 2813 and 2813-1.3.
Second,
I would move to go into executive session.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now in executive session. Phones.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now back to regular session.
Move to pend indigent care cases 22-27 through 22-30 and 22-35 through 22-43 based on SDCL 28-13-33.2, 28-13-34.2, 28-13-1.1.
Second.
Motion and a second to pend cases stated by Commissioner Los for reasons stated by Commissioner Los. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Or do you want to talk about next time?
Do we need to?
No.
No.
Okay. I don't think we have anything for, no. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We are now adjourned.